I love Mike Hansen Archives.
Hello, Austin, Texas. I'm Alex Jones. This is Steve Lane, and you're watching the Freedom Report, a program dedicated to facts and information. We bring you what the real reality is. We bring you documentation of how parasites, criminals, manipulators of entire civilizations have taken over your country and your world. This is not about theatrics. This is not about ratings. This is about a peaceful revolution of information, a revelation. Incredible things are happening. The central banks of the world are ignoring the Y2K crash, as the International Center for Strategic Studies has talked about on C-SPAN. Tomorrow night I'll play some clips of that, because they want a crash, they want a panic, they want a problem. Then me and my co-host Steve are going to talk about what's going on in China with the organs. Now we have some mainstream media for you. I hope you brought that, Mike, that he taped off. I believe it was ABC News, where they openly show some of the records and people testifying about political dissidents having their organs taken. And I was brought the tape tonight, but I can't find it on 2 hours of news clips where they say it is. Tony Brown, 2 weeks ago, talking about how he has uncovered for himself the Illuminati organized crime conspiracy from Europe. That's all it is organized crime from Europe when you hear the term Illuminati. That's Adam Weishaupt, 1776, founded the Order of the Illuminati. It's very, very serious. It's organized crime. It has taken over your society. So I guess we're going to talk about that this evening and any other topics that you want to discuss. But most importantly tonight, I'm going to unveil a plan, and tomorrow night I'm going to continue to unveil a plan for grassroots effort to take city, county, states back to the national vanguard against what's going on in the world at the national level. We must educate about how we can rectify those problems, how we can formulate tactics. We need to launch against the enemy and ignore their side issues and their versions. We need to control peaceably first again. Then state governments and have people against the government that is now taking control of our federal government. It's a long-term game. It's very, very serious. It is strategic in nature. And we'll get more into that later with documentation and give you the facts you need to effectively oppose this conspiracy by those that wish to control you and your families. Steve, thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me, Alex.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me, Mike. You've said a very valid point right there, that change, I wish I could remember who said this quote to give him proper credit, but it was, change in Washington will never come from Washington. If you want to change Washington, you have to start at the local level, just like Alex talked about. Win some battles there, get people riled up about it, excited about the fact that you can beat City Hall, that sort of thing, and build a consensus from there, grow out from there. And I'm real pleased to hear Alex is going to lay that out for us here pretty soon, because I've always believed that it's all about local issues and taking control locally.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's not something that I suddenly pulled out of a hat.
No.
But the biggest problem with reform is that as soon as a group gets at any size, leaders come in that just want to self-aggrandize, fill themselves up with kudos and money and women, or in the case of women and men, basically they get drunk on the petty power before the organization goes anywhere. Then big foundations come with money and say, wouldn't it be easy if you just listen to our experts? It's all done very sweetly, very nicely. The experts coming to advise the people generally believe what they're saying to the other people. You
Sure.
see, that's the best type of salesman. Most people in this conspiracy, this criminal conspiracy to control wealth in the masses, modern feudalism, is that they go out and they look. There's thousands of brands of politicians and people and ideologues and people that truly believe what they're saying. So the enemy, who is cynical to the max, understands that power, wealth, and armaments and control of education systems is everything, and the financial system.
It's true.
They are able to go and pick, okay, I like what you're saying, I like what you're saying, you will all help me in my goals. And then they watch this grand play itself out and fund who they wish and manipulate, create sides, and it gives everything an air of reality. And there is reality to the political process, but really all we see is different political groups bidding for management positions in the corrupt system.
Right.
And the entire upper echelon of power and the true modes of power, we are never allowed to see this information. I mean, if you read, I've actually read some of it here on the program. If you actually go out there to the people and talk to them, they won't believe it. But Alan Greenspan used to talk about how capitalism is an unrealized dream, that it never has really existed because corrupt interests always form monolithic structures of money. And then they seek to socialize the economy to control the wealth, to keep out the undergrowth. That's what they call new businesses.
The grassroots, sure.
Yeah, new ideas, new money. So it's a war between new money and old money. And once we let the new money understand that they're not part of the establishment and the petty trappings are not true power, we can marshal those people in a nationwide movement and we will not be shaken. We will not falter. We are not going to waver, because we're going to continue to push and push. And it's not Alex Jones or Steve Lane or anybody else that's going to change this country. It is us changing the paradigm, the ripples in the water. A single drop of water on a calm surface can create ripples that are
far-reaching.
So we've got to get to the people out there that think they're part of the establishment. You're not. I don't care if you got $100 million. You're not part of the establishment unless you're one of their upper-level functionaries. It's a joke. The Fortune 500 is being bought up by the top 20 banks and corporations. They're using regulators to come after them. Microsoft is under siege. Now Intel's under siege. Our best microchip producer, microprocessor, Intel, and then of course Bill Gates and Microsoft. If we don't stand now, they're going to nationalize all our industries, and then the banking establishment is taking it over as collateral on that debt. You see, in 1933, they suspended the Constitution. And in 1913, they took the money of the public and turned it over to private hands. We are a fully dominated population, fully controlled, and you've got to stop being pragmatic about it. You can be pragmatic once you have the facts, but you've got to get the facts first.
Also, later on tonight, I'm going to give you some revelations regarding the ASAP program. We've been told publicly by all the ASAP bureaucrats, coordinators, also the Travis County commissioners, that the ASAP program is all about increasing communication between parents and teachers, parents and school faculty. But I'm going to bring forth the real facts in a document that the state of Texas, that is the state attorney general's office, sent me regarding an open records request I made, where the county, in trying to argue that they shouldn't release information to me under the Freedom of Information Act, said that if they released information to me, it would interfere with an ongoing criminal investigation and possibly possible criminal prosecution. So I'm going to bring forth that documentation later on. I think it's very interesting, and I think the county commissioners are going to have a tough time explaining this one.
Well, basically, we know that they want to make the children criminal, not to imprison them for life, but to get them into the system, get a few convictions. That's what the urine and blood testing that Clinton has planned, that I've had the Federal Register here for people many times, that he put in the Federal Register in 1997. The urine and blood testing, he put in 92, the thumb scanning, and as we know, we're thumb scanning now. He wants it implemented, the urine and blood testing, by 98. Yes, urine and blood testing plan for you and your family. You can stop it if you get motivated. If enough of you get motivated, which we will. But it says they won't go to jail the first 2 times. They're sent to a government psychiatrist for drugs and treatment. It is, if they can't get you on welfare in the traditional manners, they will make you a sub-criminal, suck you into the system, and then put you like a THX 1138, George Lucas 1974 film. They will suck you into the system. And it's all about that. They've got to have masses that are dependent on them that they can activate or they can point at whenever we, the producers, rise up and try to effectively oppose them. That's why you see them trying to make everyone criminals, because they've hired more police officers. I think nationwide it's gone up from 340-something thousand to 490-something thousand police officers. And of course, crime's been going up since '64. Now it's planed off since '93, but we're still on top of the mountain. And so they're having to create new crimes to fill these prisons and to hire more police. So get ready. You're going to have more and more crimes, my friends.
Yeah, I noticed that with Bruce Elfan. It's my belief that my understanding is he had tried to run for sheriff before the ASAP program started, and, I believe that ASAP program was really just supposed to be a feather in his cap. He sells it to the Commissioner's Court as a crime prevention program, and using the information he gives him, he sells it rather well. But the fact is, it's just so he can expand his reach, expand the number of people that he has working under him, so when he goes and runs for sheriff again, and he will run for sheriff again, he can say, look at what I've done.
Yeah, that's true about Elephant. But he's a constable. Precinct 5, right?
I can't remember. I think it's whatever is downtown.
What you have to understand about Elephant is that Mike's there laughing. It's Elephant. He looks like an elephant. I'm sorry. He sits there. Now the Absent Student Assistance Program is where they send constables, armed thugs, not all of them, but thugs, out to your house. Now we hear up to 12 o'clock at night. We've got reports of that. We know they admit up till 9:30 at night to tell you that your kid missed school. Now, it's for the elementary only, except for Del Valley in the 9th grade.
Exactly.
Now think about this. It's a federal program. It's Hillary's Village. I've been there. I've asked the commissioners, and that guy is just kissing up and carrying out a federal program to net your children. And they don't call you anymore. Now, we had a minor victory. They now call like they used to the first time and then send a constable out, which that's a minor victory. But these people want your kids. And who was it? A Mr. Cardenas 2 weeks ago, a Austin deputy constable raped a girl, or has been arrested for rape. It was in the paper one time in a very small place about 2-3 weeks ago. Mr. Cardenas raped a girl, and he's also charged with obstruction of justice and intimidation because he went and tried to intimidate the family first. So again, I'm not saying many of the constables, but we, growing up in Dallas, we had some friends whose daughter was harassed by a truancy officer who was raping her friends. A lot of predators go into this business, and it's very, very serious. So we need to rout out those predators that are obsessed with our children, the counselors that are obsessed with our kids, the advisors, the truancy officers. We know they're in there. We know there's some in there. And so we need to keep the state away from our kids. Now, if there's real neglect or real brutality, we need to remove those children and get them into a good home. But you've got a lot of really bad things going on. You know, I wanted to make comments when I first went down there and ran into the constables and their people. But I'm not going to make the comment about what my gut level sense told me. But we just see more and more of this, the obsession with the innocent, with the youth. Hitler was obsessed with the youth. Mao, Stalin, every thug in society has been obsessed with control of the youth. What does this mean? It means you've got to wrest control of your local governments. We're going to create a strategic plan. I'm writing it up as we speak. I'm going to make the call to people in the community. I'm going to make the call for people to get motivated and involved in a new political movement here in Austin, Texas. And we're not going to be about selling books. We're not going to be about packing halls. We're going to be about getting out on the street and protesting and getting people elected and getting motivated. That's what we're going to be about.
I'll tell you what, since we're talking about it, Mike, do you have that tape ready that I gave you? If you do, let's go ahead and run that.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us what this is a tape of?
What this is a tape of is from March 24th, Travis County Commissioner's Court meeting, where I believe it's Karen Suttonleitner that's queued up, is talking about how the ASAP program isn't about making criminals of kids, isn't about arresting them or anything of that nature. It's all about increasing communication between parents and school faculty, parents and teachers. And that's an admirable idea, but the fact is she was playing to the cameras. All the major news media was there that day because that was our big push to really get the ASAP program changed. Oh, okay. Apparently Mike doesn't have, apparently the tape I gave him has the wrong speed. But I will tell you, we'll get that tape correct. But I'll tell you what she said. She said, this program isn't about making criminals of kids. We want to increase communication between parents and faculty.
Let me make a comment on that. Tonight, I have had 6 tapes brought to me, VHS tapes. People send me tapes all the time, and luckily these are in SP. And so that's why we don't have that tape. Too bad that you taped it at the wrong speed. If you send us tapes, we need them in SP. That's the normal taping speed, because the equipment down here will not run them if they're not in SP. Plus, SP is better quality. So if you do tape information or anything you see on the street, you can go out and get tape of anything you wish. And if it shows corruption, we will expose it right here on this program. But I think people know what's going on with ASAP. We know it's about big government trying to take control of our kids. We know it's corrupt. We know it's a revenue generator. And we know that we got that program, and the state's actually credited you for that. We got that program changed to a phone call now. We're starting construction on $2,300,000, and we got that. We also got the Delta Force run out of town. The Force was coming to train here in Austin, Texas, and these things you did, secret military teams, police chief called them the problem is in the secret teams. It's very serious. The EPA is arming with armored and a lot of information is going on. A lot of things are happening. So, as Americans, you have got to realize that a real threat is not on the horizon. It's not even on your doorstep. It's in your cities. Military special operations are training all across the country. It's going on everywhere. And they're telling you that it's for terrorism. Well, I have the Austin American Statesman right here. And it is from Monday, June 8, 1998. It says, U.S. used nerve gas in Vietnam, report says. And CNN went out there last night, and I watched some of it, and I got it on tape, but I don't care to run it. And they show these Air Force general and all these people saying, yeah, we use nerve gas. What's the problem? There is no problem. Personally, I think against hostile enemies to use a small amount of nerve gas if they're down in tunnels or you've got to get rid of them. It's a weapon. What's the difference between shooting somebody and using nerve gas? They've made nerve gas this big evil thing. Now, biological should never be used. It's actually worse than nuclear. But the problem is biological bacteria or virus, whereas a chemical disperses after a certain period of time. And I have nothing against chemical weapons if used to protect our people or if used to defeat terrorists or anybody else. The problem is the 1979 declassified MK Ultra documents show, and during this, before I get to that, during this CNN report, they kept going to the 1996 sarin nerve gas attack in Tokyo, Japan by that cult. And they kept saying, that's why we need teams, and that's why we need this, and that's why we need that. But why did our government use nerve gas? Oh, nerve gas, nerve gas, nerve gas. If CNN is trying to act like they're doing something, like they're doing real investigative reporting, they're trying to earn your confidence because they're covering up. I will get down on my knees and say that I was wrong about Ted Turner and the Statesman and all the rest of them, all their pomps, all the CFR pomps, if they'll do a story about the MK Ultra declassified subway attack in 1966 where they killed a unnamed number, that remains classified, of commuters, people going to work. I brought you the MK Ultra documents. I've showed you it republished in Popular Mechanics. It was a whitewash. They released a biological agent in 1950 in the San Francisco Bay Area and killed people. I mean, this is very serious. It's our government. They have the will to do it just to test it on our own people. And they have more than that. Our government, or elements of our government, destroyed Oklahoma City. And that's a fact, and I've run 20 documentaries on it. I've had guests on, carte blanche, generals, weapons developers, FBI people, FBI crime lab people. I brought it to you, either here or on my radio show, in depth. Why would our government destroy Oklahoma City? Why would our government nerve gas people going to work in the subways? That's what's declassified. Why would they release 7,800 curies of radioactive material in 1949? Because they want to create terror. They want to create problems, so you go to them for solutions. It's just like the mob. It's a very old tactic. Just like the mob will go to your house or go to your business and they used to do this a lot more before people stood up to them, and they'd say, hey, don't you want some insurance from those thugs down there on the corner? Those thugs, replace thugs with militia people or whoever else, are going to come burn down your business or going to rob your business. And if you said, no, I can deal with those thugs myself, I got a gun under the counter, Don Corleone or whatever would go over there. Those were his thugs. That night, he would break the windows out of your business. If you didn't buy insurance from him the next day, he'd burn your business the next day. He didn't care that it hurt production, hurt your family, hurt the city, because the next grocer is going to pay up out of fear. Now, I'm the type of grocer or business person that'll pull my gun out and blow your head off. Mob business with me, I don't care if you kill me. I'm coming after you with automatic weapons. Now, that's the type of person Alex Jones is. But what does the government do? They don't want you to be able to come after the mob, which is the federal government, just a bigger version of it. Yeah, there's a Camp Grouper where they're loading the fuel oil device. They don't want you, not that, but something else on the screen. They don't want you to be able to oppose them. They want to disarm you so the criminals and the federal government and everybody else can run rampant with guns and weapons and police in black ski masks going down the street, and those men, military black ops people that were seen and photographed and are well-known individuals, Andre Strassmeyer and others, that destroyed Oklahoma City. And there's Camp Grouper loading the Ryder truck with fuel oil. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're dealing with. And if you don't want to see the evidence in your face and stand up to the mafia, which is the Illuminati, the WASP European mob that controls our nation, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, old banking money, if you don't want to illuminate these people and shine light on them and then make them pay, man, that's what I'm talking about. We got enemies that make Hitler look like a choir boy running our system. So intelligent, so dynamic in their ruthless evil. That's what we're dealing with. Don't let them disarm you. Don't let them raise taxes on you. Demand tax reduction. You're being shaken down by a bunch of mobsters that own the media and tell you it's cool to be shaken down. Why are you laying down to it?
You know, one of the things I think is interesting, Alex, is I've heard people say regarding comments about a possible war down in Mexico right now. They say, oh, how is that possible? You know, you couldn't hide that from today's media, that sort of thing. Hey, I got news for you. People practically brag about the Vietnam War being hid from people when it first got started. My dad was stationed in Travis Air Force Base, California, and publicly we were all being told, oh no, we're just teaching people how to use weapons, we're not involved in the conflict, nothing of the sort. And yet he was unloading about 30 American soldiers a day, dead American soldiers from airplanes, on average about 30 a day, he told me. And that went on for a couple of years, and the public, the American public, was none the wiser.
64 through 65?
He was in the Air Force from 54, I believe, to 58. I could have those dates wrong.
Oh, so you're saying that I was always thought to believe that it started in like 59, and then it got, pretty much declared by 67.
But what happened was we were there consulting, supposedly.
Advisors.
Exactly. We were advising them on how to use the weapons we were selling them.
Let me tell you what a Marine Force Recon, the equivalent, that's the Marines' most elite, told me from Fort Hood. I'm not going to tell you his name. I know him personally. They have been training, and the Delta Force has been training there for 2 years, was training thousands of Mexican soldiers every month. Training them for counterinsurgency kill training. Murder training, to go in and clean out villages, search and destroy, seek and destroy. Now, we know there's been a war in Chiapas for 3 years, 3.5 years. We know that scorched earth policy is a very ancient tactic. We know the fires originated in Chiapas, Mexico, the main area of trouble. We know there's a war down there right now. We know that they're down there killing those Indians. We know the UN's taking their land under environmental guises and forcing them up to Mexico City to work as slaves.
But see, my point was that the American military, the American media hid that Vietnam War from you early on, the early Vietnam War. Who's to say that they're not hiding this war from you now? So if you don't believe it, just look at your history. It's been done before. What's to keep it from happening again? There's nothing to keep it from happening again. It's probably going on. We see no aerial photos from Mexico. We just see usually a couple of guys trying to put out a fire there from the ground level. I mean, that could be put on anywhere. With the technology that's available today, anything could be doctored. And I'm not saying there's footage being doctored. I'm saying there is no footage. And that's something to be concerned about.
Mike, do you have that tape queued up right now about the organs being sold from political dissidents in China? We'll go to that clip in just a couple minutes.
No calls.
Well, we had a bunch of calls. I think they screened them. They must be pranks. Oh, the phones aren't working. Well,
oh, I see.
Just don't worry about it, you know. Yeah, if you... oh, yeah, there is Patricia Moore, nice lady. It's not a very good picture of her. A nice lady who has been working really hard. She's got footage. She goes down to Chiapas and shows the tanks driving by and them dragging villagers away and the mass graves of people. That's here on Access Television for you to see. She goes to Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and much more. We'll go to some calls. Hello, you're on the air.
Caller, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that they're doing a good job covering that war in Mexico. They're hiding it because all the news footage on all the news stations are the same two guys. One guy's beating on the fire with the stick, and one guy's dumping water on it with the bucket. And every single news station has that exact same footage.
That's what the Statesman had too.
But there's a point to be made there. That's because most of your news is gotten from either AP Wire or UPI Wire. It comes from a central source. That's the danger of centralization when it comes to media. You're going to get the same thing on all these different channels, on all these different newspapers.
This came out in the 60s. Before our media was totally controlled then, but for some reason it came out. But the CIA runs the AP. The CIA runs Reuters. They run it all. The CIA runs this damn country. And the CFR is the political arm, or the out front arm, of the CIA and the National Security Agency. And Tom Brokaw, Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, they're all CFR. All the major chairmen and presidents.
Oh, you're full of prunes.
Yeah, yeah. That's what.
That's what Dan Rather told Greg Erickson when he asked him about the war in Mexico.
You're full of prunes.
Yes.
Very intelligent. See, he didn't have his teleprompter.
I was going to say that
Caller,
definitely wasn't a teleprompter.
That's all I had to say.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, have you heard the latest news at the Defense Department right now?
Which news was that?
It's has something to do with death squads in Vietnam, where they would go out and kill defectors.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. We need to do that.
Yeah.
But war is war, man. Yeah, but they used nerve gas.
Right.
U.S. used nerve gas in Vietnam.
Right.
Yeah, but remember, we're the biggest seller, except for Russia, of nerve gas, and I hope we're not selling biologicals, but I know we sold Saddam all those chemicals and biologicals, or most of them. I've actually got video, and I've played it, 20 times of the cases in the Camisea bunker complex, 100 football field sized bunkers filled with U.S. chemical and biological and then standard munitions. And then, of course, when we detonated Camisea above ground, the largest above ground detonation that was non-nuclear in world history, that was man-made. And of course we had people with all types of symptoms. You detonate a giant complex, create a giant mushroom cloud of toxins, and our people were walking around without masks doing the work.
It's crazy.
See, you got to understand how politicians think. When you talk about years ago with the Iran-Iraq war, Iran definitely had the upper hand in that war, and it looked like they were going to win it pretty handily. But the U.S. had to step in because they think in terms of balance of power. They want two sides to be equally armed, or at least one side to have the type of arms that will equal them with the other side, so that the idea being that they'll either fight always or they won't fight at all, because there would be no clear-cut victor. Because if there was a clear-cut victor, that would throw the balance of power toward Iran. So we armed Iraq.
They didn't want Iran and militant Muslims to come through Iraq, get Saudi Arabia, get our oil reserves. And that's what they really don't want, is they don't want a unified Mid-East, because we pretty much have the oil market controlled over there. Like when they told you back in the 70s that the Shah of Iran was doing that, that was all bull. They did that on purpose. They let him do that, raised oil prices to run a bunch of banking scams.
Well, hello folks, it's Mike Hansen. I'm sorry to interrupt your viewing here on YouTube. What we're trying to do is get all these VHS tapes before they go bad. If you see right here, they're already starting to go bad. So we're doing the best we can to get them these thousands of tapes up on YouTube before they completely go bad, which they are pretty well going bad already. You see how it flipped? I'm live on the air. You see how it's starting to mess up at the bottom and flicker every once in a while. That means they're getting really, really old. So what we're doing is we've hired some people. We've got a bunch of expensive equipment, and we're getting them uploaded to either Mike Hansen Archives. Be sure to subscribe to Mike Hansen Archives, Hansen Archives, Waco Archives, or the newest one, Trailer Park Show Archives. And if you would like to contribute $25 for this effort, I will send you a copy of my book that I wrote, Bohemia Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. Just, if you can see that, send it to 901 St. Joseph Street, Gonzales, Texas, 78629. Or you can call us and leave a message, and somebody will call you back and get your credit card, and we'll send you a signed copy out there. 830-672-3089. So we'll get right back to either Jeff Davis, Alex Jones, Steve Lane, whoever's on right now from 25 years ago. We're trying this, I think it's a good effort to try to save this history. This is history, folks. You know, where are you going to see this again from 95? I was the producer for Jeff Davis and Alex Jones for 15 years, from 1995 to 2010, and we have a lot of tapes. I know Alex had a lot of tapes, but he left them out in the garage or something, and they completely ruined. So getting this history up, I think is very important, and I'm making it a goal in my life. Hopefully, somebody said, that's going to take you 20 years to get all that stuff. Well, no, if we can get a little donations, we can go ahead and hire some more people and get it up faster. But the tapes are deteriorating very quickly, as you can see every once in a while right here. That means these VHS tapes, these old VHS, if you're young, you probably don't even know what these VHS tapes are. But you know, you got to keep them in a cool place and a clean place. Some of them are very dirty, so we're trying to get them up. Alrighty, thanks a lot, and God bless, folks. And call us and help us if you can. Now here's Alex.
And then the bank said to the Arabs, if you invest with us, we'll guarantee that you can, raise the prices. And then the Arabs invested with them. Then in the 80s, they said, oh my gosh, this has gone bankrupt, Arabs. But they'd already transferred the money to holding companies in the third world. So the bankers got to go buy the third world with Arab oil money.
But we did. We armed Iraq. We readily admit it. And so there you have it. In the Gulf War, we go back there, and there's our nerve agents that we sold them. I mean, and we had to fight against that. I thought it was a kind of
when
an
you saw those pictures of little dead Kurdish kids, oh, Saddam used this. Well, hell, we were using it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a clip I have from CBS Evening News on biometrics. Should I send that to you?
Yeah, send it.
Or do you have that?
I believe it has to be on SP.
Look, man, I got 400 hours of stuff. What I want is nice, concise clips, but with about 5 seconds extra on each end, so I can use it. Yeah, send it to us.
Okay.
Michael,
it's recorded on SP. So
good. Michael put the slate up later on as far as an address to send things like that.
Okay.
Just send it to that
address. And
also
have some real clear pictures of all the cameras they're putting up around town too.
For your best interest, sir.
Okay.
Really, cameras?
Yeah, and the transponder chips.
I knew that was happening in San Antonio. I didn't know it was happening here.
I think they added a camera over on 45th Street.
Yeah, well, the media told us just 3 weeks ago, I forget which one it was, we actually played it, where they said that we're not getting the cameras. People want cameras, but they can't get them because the state legislature won't allow it. Well, that's a damn lie. I mean, they just lie in the media.
Hold on, let me get that.
Yeah, I will. Thanks for your call.
All right, thanks.
And hey, send that to us.
Okay.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about with Red China. Why are we sending them all the information so that they can give it to countries that are coming against us?
Sir, let me give you the facts. We've allowed, and I've been telling you this for 3 years, or 2.5, L'Oreal, Hughes Space and Aeronautics, not because I dug it up myself. I'm in contact personally with General Parton, former head of Air Force Weapons Development, who was telling me about the secret squads, the concentration camps, the Chinese. The Chinese have a missile base now off our coast, 60 miles off Long Beach, at an old Army missile testing ground. It's a company called Sea Launch. And Costco is the Chinese military. It's their shipping firm, and they're at Long Beach Naval Base. They're in the high desert in Victorville at George Air Force Base. I mean, this is just incredible. I mean, we're being taken over. Europe is subdividing us and selling us off. Clinton has transferred to the Chinese and the Japanese all of our patent codes. That was admitted to in the media, and the media just goes, Clinton gave our patent codes to the Chinese. Now for 2 hours of Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
The Americans are so sick of hearing about Lewinsky. Leave the president alone.
I'll tell you the other thing that came out, and I need to give you this article. It's an article that
People
spells
need to
out.
turn their TVs down, or we need to turn the phone down.
It's a timeline that spells out from beginning to end what happened as far as this transfer of technology to China. One of the couple of things that I think is very interesting that jumped out in my mind was, number one, when the Justice Department was investigating, I believe it was L'Oreal, when Clinton saw that maybe things weren't going to go well as far as this technology transfer.
The Congress was investigating L'Oreal, and the Justice Department won't allow the investigation to go forward because they say they're investigating it.
So he transferred jurisdiction over to Ron Brown's Commerce Department, which allowed the release of the technology. Also, too, a woman who carries a title in the Chinese Army was the woman, she's the daughter of one of these generals or something like that. She was the one actually presenting the checks.
She's like Sally Wu, or actually I've got it here written down.
And they give her a title in the Army.
She's head of Space and Aeronautics.
But it's really interesting that for some reason we don't get upset by this. I mean, we'll get upset about Microsoft having their browser pre-installed on Windows 95, but nobody will get pissed off that just hands down Clinton's handing over technology left and right to China.
Microsoft is a good company, new money that produces and is competitive. We can't have that here in America. We're to be destroyed.
It's just amazing.
This is the Third World War.
When you see
economic,
right? When you see
hold on, agents have been installed.
That, and how are the Cowboys doing?
Yeah, agents.
We haven't talked about the Cowboys tonight.
Listen, agents have been installed. Agents have been installed, and it's all over. I mean, that's it. Agents are in control of our federal government. They have put them in there over a long period of time. They've controlled our universities for over 100 years. I mean, it's America. Foreign agents control your government. That's it, and that's that. Are you going to put light on them? Are you going to get them out of there? Are you going to support people that will cut your taxes? Get us out of the UN? Get us out of the World Bank? Get us out of the IMF? Get us out of the World Trade Organization? What does the World Trade Organization give you? I say this every show, and I'll continue to say it. They call it free trade when China lowest tariff is 15% and our tariffs average 2.2%. Is that called free trade? Is it called an even exchange? It's called a program of deindustrialization of a nation. It's called economic warfare. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Put on the sirens. We're under attack. Scramble. Mobilize. We're under attack. Emergency. Emergency. The Fortune 500 is going to be totally consolidated by European and international firms within the next 5 years. It's already happening with Chrysler and hundreds of other companies. I could read you a huge list, and I have. It's incredible. What are we going to do as a nation?
You know, I think it's interesting. People are arguing what type of new tax code should we have? Should it be flat tax? Should it be consumption-based tax? You know, we wouldn't even need a tax on citizens in America if we balanced those tariffs. It's been proven. That's what happened in colonial America. We had equal tariffs on imports and exports. No tax on the citizens themselves.
You're wrong, Steve. Al Gore, when he debated Ross Perot, both agents, it was a big dog and pony show, when he held up that little sign and showed Smooth and Hollings, showed those two old guys and said, these are the guys that caused the crash of 1929. It was at the Federal Reserve calling in short-term traders loans and then restricting the money supply for 6 full years and then outlawing gold and confiscating it and giving us paper back. It wasn't that, it wasn't the central bank that had promised us no more crashes. And then we get the biggest crash in history. They sold us the 1913 Federal Reserve Act that we would never have a depression again. And then we had the biggest, longest, most sustained depression, the biggest consolidation and transfer of wealth in U.S. history.
It's fascinating to me that during that time period, people lined up because the government told them to and turned in all their gold. I mean, I've got the documentation. I'm going to have to bring it sometime. It's the actual document that was signed into legislation saying, hey, you got to bring all your gold in, turn it in, and exchange it for notes.
You've seen the back of my car. And right now I've cleaned it out, actually. Now it's all in my house with more. I've got an entire room stacked with information. I've had it here 1,000 times. We keep saying, well, we have it for you, we have it for you. If you think we're BSing, you just call your grandparents up.
Ask them.
They banned gold in 1933, and it wasn't legal until 1974. They took it all in, gave you paper back. And I don't think gold's a good standard. We should be on a silver standard because it's 14 times more plentiful than gold. It can't be consolidated and hoarded by any one money manipulator. Learn about futures. Learn about money manipulation. Learn about speculation. My God, you're being manipulated out there. It's so sad to see it. Organized criminals have conned you so badly.
People don't want to be. Amy and I were talking about this on the way over here. If people start believing in this information, they believe it, they ultimately do, but if they start investigating and really find out the facts, it destroys their whole vision of America. Don't misunderstand me. This is still the greatest country in the world, okay? It's the greatest by far. But what happens is when you research this information for yourself and you find out that it is factual, it destroys your whole vision of what America was all about the flag flapping in the breeze and it's the land of the free, home of the brave. And it forces you to realize that this government, this country, is just as corrupt as every other country, every other great country that's ever been in the history of the world.
And the worst part is they're getting sloppy, they're getting reckless and arrogant, and they're subdividing our nation. They're strip mining our resources. I don't mean even our physical resources. They're strip mining our intellectual properties, our patents. They're strip marking. It's just incredible that people out there have allowed this. And I'm telling you, America, you're out there. You are middle class. You have got to get involved today. I don't know what you can do. You go out and do it. Pamphlets. You write a book. You get involved. You run for city council. Just quit thinking you're part of the system. You're not. They're taking over the Fortune 500 as we speak.
I'm actually excited about the sloppiness. I'm actually excited about the fact that the government is stepping up their propaganda and stepping up these programs, because what it indicates is that your movement, the movement that you people are involved in today, the movement for freedom, is having an effect. They see it coming. They know what's coming down the road. So they have to step up their actions. Everything's been moved forward a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. They see how freedom is spreading across the land, how people are starting to get wise to what's going on. They're learning every day. Our numbers are growing exponentially. They see it coming, so they've got to do something about it. So that's why they're getting sloppy. They're getting sloppy because of you. But it's not enough. We need more people. We need larger numbers. We need a smarter movement, a movement that's more not controlled, but better thought out rather than haphazard, a concerted effort, like Alex said, to start at the local level and branch out from there, a grassroots effort.
Well, Steve, you know, tomorrow night I'm going to lay out my plan, and then over the next few months I'm going to lay it out in a more concise fashion. But basically, what does this say? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Something I was going to say is, do we have the China piece about the organs, or do we not have that? Yeah, but tomorrow night I'll lay the plan out in more depth, and the plan is a challenge. The plan is a challenge, and it's being answered by people like George Humphrey, former city council member, prominent businessman here in Austin, Texas. He's getting a television show down here. And he's written a book, Common Sense. The call is being answered by many other people, but it's got to be answered by radio people. It's got to be answered by, I mean, can you imagine if Steve Hicks, owner of Capstar, or is it Cap City? No, it's Capstar.
It's Capstar.
Can you imagine if that guy just decided to put some real programming on it? And I'm not talking about me or somebody else. I mean, but no, he feels like he's part of the establishment. He's being allowed to buy all this media up, and he thinks he'll be left alone. No, Mr. Hicks, once you get big enough, they're going to take you over too. Look what's happening to Bill Gates. You got to fight. Your new money too, Mr. Hicks. And I'm not sitting here giving you advice, but you have got to get motivated, and you've got to come out against what's happening. All these people, I make the call out to university professors to get out of the peer pressure mode, to get out of the group psychology, and to please get involved today and admit what's happening.
Can you imagine if just 100 of his roughly 300 stations carried freedom-oriented programming? It would be phenomenal.
And if it gave people solutions,
grassroots.
I mean, if they trumpeted the victories like us getting the Delta Force out of Austin. Now, I don't even know if I believe that. We've got to stay vigilant. I think I'm going to go down there tomorrow morning or next week. I've went a couple weeks in a row, and I tell you the truth, I don't like going down there to that commissioner's court. I don't like being discriminated against. They cut us short of time. They do the wide shots, so we can't show documents. They do it for any other bureaucrat. Or,
yeah.
The
one for the kids.
Yeah, the guy comes in, peddling the bonds, and they'll do close-ups of what he's peddling. And I don't care. I just don't even like going in there because I don't like sitting before those pathetic creatures that think they're so smart. Thank God that people in our city government, maybe they're not so pathetic, stood up against it. But why should I have to go down there tomorrow morning? Why don't you go down there tomorrow at the Stokes building and speak during Citizens Communication? I mean, and you know what? I made the call to people to come down. We had about 8 people speak. We've had about 20, 30 other times. And then as I walk out, about 10 people show up and say, oh, well, sorry I'm late at like 9:30. Basically, they're afraid to get up there. They came to support, but they're afraid to get up there.
And what's amazing about it is, though, and what I would say to those people is you can't believe how good it feels to actually stand in the face of something like that and to stand up to it. I mean, there is absolutely no reason to be scared at all. In fact, it's quite the other way. It feels empowering. And the wonderful thing about it is I agree with you. I hate going down there just because of the way that those people are, but the fascinating thing is they really hate us being there. And that almost makes it worthwhile, just to see the looks on their faces, and they just can't wait for Citizens Communication to get over with because they know we're there.
The CIA piece?
Yeah, see what you think about it. They use the technology against them.
Well, Mike, I really want to run what I've been telling them we're going to run. I really want to show the interview of the person that got the kidney. We can't find that. We'll go ahead and go to this, and I'll talk over it. I'm not sure what we're facing to see.
Mike, you got that queued up?
There's gunfire every night. We worry each time we step outside.
But there's no war in Kashmir, not yet. It's just that nuclear weapons feed a growing fear that the next war, if it happens... Richard Roth, NBC News, Chakoti, Pakistan.
And when NBC Nightly News continues this evening, how the spying game is played these days.
In the modern world of espionage, America's top spies are not jet-setting secret agents prowling exotic places. Instead, they're here at CIA headquarters outside Washington, hunched over computers, poring over satellite photos and transcripts, searching for that one critical piece of intelligence that could spell life or death. George Tenet is director of the CIA.
The men and women of U.S. intelligence provide the country and the president an enormous unilateral advantage. They save American lives and protect U.S. forces. It is one of the single best investments that we make.
But after America's spy network failed to predict India's nuclear blast, intelligence experts like Mark Lowenthal warned that too much of that money is being spent in the wrong place.
We keep overemphasizing technical solutions. You need really good human beings.
The U.S. spends $27 billion per year on spying, but nearly all of it on hardware, not humans. Experts estimate 95% of that budget is spent on intelligence gathering, mostly satellites that snap spy photos and electronically eavesdrop on friend and foe alike. That means only a small fraction of the budget is left to analyze all that information. For example, a CIA investigation found that satellites had detected preparations for India's nuclear test. But when the images were fed to this ground station near Washington, there was only one analyst on duty, and he missed it. Retired Admiral David Jeremiah led the probe and found there's too much information and too few.
It's how good your CIA is and how they need more funding because India just did that big nasty boom boom. You know, Clinton's the one that's letting China sell these nuclear weapons to Pakistan and Iran. I think India should have nuclear weapons if they're surrounded by that type of barbarous behavior.
What's a joke about that is they know that at most they don't even know that they could put those on a warhead, and even if they could, they know the missile technology over there is such that they can only fly those things about 900 miles at most. They can barely reach into that next country. I mean, if you're worried about nukes over in Pakistan and India, then you might as well be worried about a kid in California carrying around a BB gun that he might shoot you in the eye. I mean, yeah, it could happen. He could drive over on a car and make it all the way to Texas and walk up to you and shoot you in the eye with a BB gun and probably do some damage.
Well, I'll tell you
but it's just so far-fetched.
I'll tell you what I am worried about. I'm worried about Clinton transferring the nuclear weapons guidance systems to the Chinese, the multiple warhead MIRV system, so they can destroy up to 12 times as much.
There's no reason to worry about it anymore. It's already been done.
Yeah, and Clinton's now going there, and he's going to march in Tiananmen Square. Our president, that's Japan right there, our president is going to actually go to China and start his march with the communists, the thugs, not even communists, the thugs, the military dictatorship, in Tiananmen Square. I mean, this is just, Clinton can do whatever he wants because they desensitized us with the Monica and all the rest, and we're sick. We think Clinton's guilty of all this pettiness that we think's in the soap operas. And really, he's guilty of being an agent of Europe, meant to destabilize our nation.
It's amazing. We're more interested in where he transfers his semen to than where he transfers missile technology to. I mean, if you really think about it, that's what matters.
The media puts it out there, and we've been bred to think that that's what's good. And maybe we'll get this clip for you if it's there. Hello, you're on the air. Yes, caller.
I was just wondering if y'all wanted to comment on the decentralization of the Austin Police Department. And then also Friday night, after the basketball game on News 36, they did a little story on the kid that killed his parents and went to school and killed his classmates. And they were just real quick, but jammed in between two stories. They said, oh, well, we'll fix that. We'll put a specially trained police officer in every school now. And it was so quick, and I was like, what? You kidding me? What'd you say?
Well, here's the deal with all that. If they want helicopters for surveillance of you and your families with infrared, as you got the Margot Frazier saying on tape, we might find that later and play that. I at least want to back up something I'm saying tonight. You get some clips. I know Mike's busy and there's a lot of people in the control room right now. But what it comes down to is that they say, and I appreciate your call, they say, oh, you want, I don't even want to talk anymore. It doesn't even matter. Look, if you don't see it, if you don't care, then I don't have anything to say to anybody out there. I mean, they tell you it's for Starflight, and then they buy a bunch of damn helicopters and are building some huge helicopter base, and then if you ask questions, the Commissioner's Court laughs at you and says it's for rescue, and it's not. And they call it Starflight. It's Orwellian. It's doublespeak. It's put a name. It's the Ministry of Love. That's where they torture people. Ministry of Love. Starflight. Surveillance helicopters with guns on them. They're going to be putting guns on them. They're going to be getting free military helicopters, as every city has. Just like the Delta Force was going to be coming here, but we stopped them. What they do with the cops in every school is the same thing. And this decentralization is a way to build more jails, more facilities, more citadels around. I mean, it's incredible.
The idea of putting a cop in every school, I'm sure everybody gets excited about it, says, oh great, my kids will be safe. Hell, somebody was talking about with the ASAP program, why don't we just stick a constable in every house and have them walk the kid to school and walk them home?
The point is, what are our kids getting used to, a police
They're
state?
getting used to a police state, that's
People
right. They're used to seeing police everywhere, on every street corner, in their school.
Some of these kids have to wear special little cards at some schools around the country, and supposedly here in Austin. And they scan, they scan. I like some kids to get me some footage of that. Jason, a friend of Rusty Fields, who's getting the show down here, was telling me about it and actually showed it to me. I should have got some tape of it. You have to go around with these little cards, and they scan and make sure who you are. You know, I mean,
It really does get you used to it. Whether you believe it's intentioned or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, it gets you used to it. Don Bennett and I were talking the other night about this. It's difficult. I won't get into it, but we were saying whether you believe the purpose is to set up, it's the intention to set up all these mechanisms with the effort of just taking over and militarizing everything. You still have to believe that the mechanisms are there, and if somebody were so inclined, they could militarize this country. I mean, it's already ongoing. I see it happening all around me.
Look, L.A., Houston are under full federal control, and many other cities.
That's right.
I mean, it's just a fact. Hello, you're on the air.
I'd like to know why Texas Best Seminars people...
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. How you doing this evening?
Pretty good.
Listen, are you aware that the FBI has decided to institute federal gun ownership registration starting November 30th, 1998?
No, I'm not aware of it. I know that Clinton...
Call the FBI. Seems that up until October 1st, 2000, Social Security numbers are optional, and then after that they're mandatory. And they're using PL 104-208, Section 656, passed in 1996, to institute a national ID card. You can call local gun shops or the FBI.
I actually, supposedly Clinton put it in the Federal Registry about registering of guns. Hey, you know, the liberals, the so-called liberals, the dupes of the fascist system they love it.
Yeah. So what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
Oh, I'm already doing a lot of things about it.
Well, what are you doing? Give us some ideas, please.
Oh, well, I run some mailing lists on the internet, and I'm involved with several gun activity lobbyists.
Something else you can do is you can come down here and get a show. Also, again, that's a federal level system, and they have full control. That's where it's 80% agents up there. That's why I'm saying if we can get cities where the sheriff and the police chief, when this comes time, say no.
Well, actually, it has to be the governor, because only the governor can bring a case against the federal government that automatically goes to the Supreme Court.
Well, sir, I'm not talking about reversing whatever treasonous activities they institute.
The Brady Bill. The FBI claims that the Brady Bill justifies
sir, well, that's true. The Brady Bill was the beginning of that was about registering firearms.
It was about registering pistols.
Yes, I understand, but now they want to start a Brady Bill. Clinton's put it in the Federal Register for rifles, too.
Yeah, they're not going to. What the FBI's claimed is that the Brady Bill has repealed the McClure-Volkmar Act, which is what makes the registration a long...
Well, did you see that man up on your screen? He wants to register firearms, too. He did, too. And then next he killed people and took their property. The point I'm trying to make, sir, is that if we can get our cities, just a few cities in Texas, like San Antonio or Austin, looks like San Antonio may be one, that refuse federal secret police, and then we educate our police about the New World Order. We can have bastions of freedom, create alliances with other cities, have conferences, and create a movement. And I'm getting ready to do it. I'm getting ready to codify a plan and institute it and go forward to people of influence and try to get them to go out and push this plan, and then we can have a strategic alliance of cities to stand up against the agents that have taken control of our government.
Well, what do you consider the potential of creating a new political party based upon strict constitutional interpretation?
You're not going to cut it that way. I believe later that will come. First, we need a lot. Those are too easily taken over. We have a set agenda of ideas, let's say 10 major ideas, and then if a city will sign on to 7% of that, it is a political action committee that will only give to cities. Okay?
Okay.
And then the political action committee gives to people to get them on the council or the commissioner's court, and then you work like hell and you push, and then you seize control of local governments. And you throw out the parasites out of government, you reinstitute constitutional governorship on a local basis.
So does that mean, let me interrupt you a second, does that mean that under your plan you would protect local gun owners, gun shops, that refuse to comply with
Exactly. That's just like Sheriff Mack out in Utah. Did you hear about him?
No.
Sheriff Mack has actually written a book, and I've read part of it. He said, look, I am not going to fill out this Brady Bill. And the reason is the Supreme Court found the Brady Bill to be unconstitutional. It's treating it, number one, it's a states' rights violation, a 10th Amendment violation. Right. All powers not expressly delegated to or given to the federal government are reserved to the states. and also it's treating you like a criminal before you've done an action. So Sheriff Mack said, no, we've got to get sheriffs elected. Now, but it's going to take poll watchers. Once you create a system, once you create a political action committee, it's going to take poll watchers. It's going to take people calling in talk radio shows. It's going to take people raising the funds and getting involved and getting the... See, I wouldn't run. I would get some doctor or a lawyer or a businessman who's got the balls, who's tired of the crap and isn't embarrassed to jump in with a bunch of, bad people, kooks that, don't want to buy organs from political dissidents in China. But that's what it's going to take people that care about their country. It's going to take people that want constitutional money and local control, and we can seize control of our governments.
Right, but in the process of doing that, aren't those people going to ruin their careers? I mean, that's one of the
no, they're going to become leaders.
They're
going to become leaders
because they get screwed.
Well, personally, then, anybody that's like that, I don't give a damn about them.
But you can't do that. I mean, the whole idea is to protect all the people, not just the few that agree with your particular view.
Would you give up your career for freedom?
I've lost a couple of jobs for freedom where I've flat refused to do something.
Then why would it be so surprising that another man wouldn't do the same?
Why did you sit there and say, people went and fought Hitler,
right?
Because he was taking Jews' skin and making them into lampshades. Now
that's not exactly true. America went to war with Hitler because Germany declared war on America after America declared war on Japan.
Pearl Harbor.
There wasn't
because
any
he had a treaty with
for us to declare war on
He had a treaty with Japan. Well, look, you want to sit there and argue nuts and bolts?
No. But, they're important, though.
Well, hey,
it's important to get
sit around.
The dots dotted and the T's crossed.
Sit around then and, I know everything about it. We broke the Japanese Purple Code in 1938. Brown Harriman Brothers was funding Hitler, which George Prescott Bush was part of. Yes, Hitler had a unilateral aggression pact with the Axis powers, and when Japan was attacked, he declared war on us in the Reichstag, which he had burnt many years before. I know all that. The point I'm making is that Americans who believe they were going to fight Hitler for the right reasons went and fought Hitler for the right reasons.
Okay.
So to sit there and to go, okay, I don't even like your attitude, man.
Well, that's okay. That's your right.
Yeah, it's my right. And tell you what, I bet you're not doing anything. You sit there on the internet. I'm just sick of everybody, man. I think I'm going to just quit this damn movement. I'm going to go out and, man, have fun. I'm just getting really pissed off. I tell you what people ought to be doing right now, but I can't say that on the air. I tell you what I as a man should do. Because I know what's happened to this country. I'm tired of the smart asses, and I'm tired of people that are full of garbage. We are buying organs from China for political dissidents. We're buying shoes and clothes from slave labor camps, and you people don't give a damn. So I may just go wallow in it myself. I may go try to get laid 14 times a week and drink as much damn beer as I can and lift as much weights and oil paint as much as I can, and I may start saying I like Kevorkian. I saw Kevorkian on TV last night, and he's got the idea to sell prisoners' organs, and he's going around trying to sell organs. Little scumbag. I rebuke the entire American people. You're a bunch of filth. And I'm not about to sit there and stop what I'm doing. I'm not about to stop. I don't mean what I say when I'm going to keep on. And I'm going to get more radical. And I know what it's coming to. And I'm ready. We could just get some people off their asses and to quit talking. I've heard so many people, like that last caller, that say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I've stopped the Delta Force with the help of others. I've stopped or curtailed the ASAP program. We've exposed the helicopter bases. We've exposed bond packages. We've done everything we can do. And we're doing as much as we can do. And you people sit there and make jokes about it. And you play nuts and bolts games with BS. You want to be a lawyer? Go be a lawyer. Just get the hell out of my way and quit focusing in on little bitty aspects of things. I mean, I can't deal with it anymore, man. I can't deal with the destruction of my country and a bunch of scum running it. I can't deal with Jack Kevorkian being some kind of damn movie star. What should I do? Go start worshiping him and start painting some really screwed up stuff and get, you know, a little goatee and some earrings or whatever, or wear a nice suit and go around and play games and get a bunch of money and finance people and BS and have a nice house in the hills and feel like I'm rich when I'm really just a pauper? That's a bunch of crap. I don't want any of you, man. I want people that know what I'm talking about and see the light and want to get involved. I've heard so many people that sit there and tell me what I should do, and I'm sick of it. You know what? You think I'm bitter? You damn right I'm bitter. I'm a happy, relaxed person, except when I have to force my mind to look into all this, and I have to get into that part of my brain that has all this information, and it makes me sick inside. I hate it, man. I can't stand talking about this crap.
It's hard not to be bitter when you see your country crumbling down around you and nobody doing anything about it, or at least very few people.
Do we have that clip ready?
Yeah, it's ready.
Let's go to it. This is the media is having to give you something.
Reno and Free gave the information over.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. This is the anniversary of what's called the Tiananmen Square Massacre, the violent crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in the heart of China's capital. That event has been an obstacle to improved relations with China ever since. And as Wendell Goller reports, even on the eve of a presidential visit there, it continues to be a problem.
China critics used the anniversary of the bloody crackdown for another round of attacks on the president's planned visit later this month.
Mr. President, you're going to go to China and you're going to start out at Tiananmen Square?
Lawmakers held hearings on China's sale of body parts.
The doctor told me after I have recovered that the kidney I have received came from executed prisoner.
And they condemned the president's day-old decision to renew China's most favored nation trade status.
Once again, President Clinton says, happy anniversary, butchers of Beijing, we're going to give you most favored nation status.
China faced its first domestic protest of the Tiananmen Square massacre in Hong Kong, which Britain returned to the People's Republic last year. The White House describes Tiananmen Square as the gateway to the Great Hall of the People, where the president will be officially welcomed. Press Secretary Mike McCurry said the president understands the symbolism of Tiananmen Square, but places it second to the substance of his trip.
If there's a disagreement on policy, let's have it. Let's debate the merits of whether or not engagement works. But otherwise, symbolically, I think we've addressed that issue, and it's time to move on.
Administration officials cite China's failed attempt to persuade Pakistan not to conduct nuclear weapons tests as a sign U.S. engagement with Beijing is paying off. But they don't claim human rights improvements. And exiled dissidents like Harry Wu say the president's policies won't ever force any improvements.
Appeasement never make peace. Appeasement never improve human rights in that country. Appeasement never improve democracy in that country.
One senator has introduced a non-binding resolution calling on the president to delay his China trip. 150 House members have asked him not to go. But neither action is likely to affect a trip officials here feel may not be politically popular, but is the right thing to do. At the White House, Wendell Goller, Fox News.
Let's take a break here, but when we return, a look back.
The only reason that they are doing that and coming out with some information is because of the alternative information that is making them look foolish. That's why they come out with a petty story in the Statesman and CNN about how, yeah, they knew about, we use some chemical and biologicals and this and that. They don't come out and tell you in the media about how they attacked our own people in 1966 in the New York subway. You see, that's the problem, and that's why I'm so angry. I mean, it's just, and then they say the right thing to do, and the guy kind of goes, like he goes home at night. And, give me a break, man. I'm so sick of wimps and scum. Filthy scum everywhere. Weaklings that never got in a fist fight, never stood up to bullies, just went and kissed the ass of somebody. They haven't done a damn thing, and they run around rampant. Man, I want to see these bastards hanging, man. I'm telling you. I want to see these traitors in courts of law. I want to see our families left alone. I want to see old people be able to live in their house without the IRS coming and taking it. Damn, Social Security's bankrupt. It's all a big lie. Foreign banks run our currency, control our nation, coming after our best industries. I mean, I don't give a damn anymore, man. What is it going to take? I feel like a fool getting up here every week, every night.
I can understand.
President Clinton comes, you know, here locally, they get that Prop 1, Prop 2, and Prop 3. Prop 2 was 15,000 acres for $65 million, and the damn environmentalist front groups that aren't even environmentalists, the Sierra Club and Nature Conservancy, admit they're getting $3.9 million. $3.9 million of your money in a standard real estate fee. And then they come out and admit that they're selling the Brody tract for millions, and they're going to sell this tract. They take your money to buy land, and then the politicians sell it for political power. This is incredible. How can you beat corruption when it's rampant? It's just everywhere. It's going to take everybody watching this program, I'm sorry for being negative, to get involved now, damn it. Don't just get pissed. Get out there and do something. God. Now, I just, it's in your face. They're stealing people's property. They're ruining people's property values. They take your property taxes so they can send your kids and dumb them down in these government schools where education's gone like that, and that's a fact. It's a damn strategic plan. We're under attack. It's a war. The president gets up and says Americans aren't saving enough. Well, what the hell is he talking about? Most people can barely make it. Between the property taxes and the sales taxes and the county tax and the taxes and the income taxes and the payroll taxes and the insurance taxes and the FICA taxes, you know, Social Security taxes. And they got those people everywhere, breeding, people on your screen everywhere, getting ready, training, every organization they can. And I'm going to have to die in the street fighting these people for you, and I will. The minute they come around taking people's guns up, Alex Jones mounts up, man. And I don't want to do that. I want to have kids. I want to see I want to have, you know, fat babies and a good-looking wife. I want to do all that. But I'm going to have to die because you're such a bunch of scum? I got to fight for the few good people? I'm going to have to do this? You think I want to do this? You think I want to have to oppose them when they're coming down your streets? You think I want to die? This is world power, man. This is world war. This is strategic economic war against our nation. Now, I'm not calling for violence, and I'm not saying I'm going to go out. But when they come and start taking up guns, or if the IRS comes and tries to steal one of my friends or family's homes, what do I have to do? I have to stand up as an American. I have to. I have to go oppose them. I mean, what are we supposed to do in a country where it's come down to this? What are you supposed to do as a nation when we've been made? See, they have to make you cynical so you'll lay down to it. And violence is not the answer, but they're the ones that are using violence. All I said is if a government thug comes to kill me, I'm going to stand up against them. And they're coming. They're getting ready. They're gearing up. Do you understand what I'm saying to you out there? You've got to get mobilized. You've got to talk to your friends and family. You've got to talk to 20 people a day. We've got to have a revelation of information.
You know, I think part of what's going on, too, is when you see Clinton being this treasonous right in your face, I think part of the whole idea is the psychology behind it is that you can't believe it. You think, well, he must not actually be giving him these secrets because they're talking about it all over the news. If this was actually going on, they would have indicted him by now, or they would have brought forth charges in the House of Representatives. So I think they intentionally bring it out right in your face just for the reason that you don't believe it. If it's right in your face, how can you believe it? What they do is they
bring it out right in your face, and then they make 100 excuses.
Sure.
So you're just...
And what else, and we've been witness to this down at the county level, what else happens is this type of behavior is so widespread, it's so corrupt throughout all levels of government that they really don't think they're doing anything wrong. They think it's perfectly reasonable to give over secrets to the Chinese as far as satellite technology and things of this nature and weapons technology. They really don't see anything wrong with it. And then when the American people don't do anything about it, when they don't respond to them doing it, that just reinforces the fact.
The worst thing they've done is people like Patricia Schroeder and Moorhead and the rest and Clinton giving the Chinese our patent secrets. I mean, that is just insane. That hurts you economically. That hurts your jobs. Our industrial base is gone. We've got a few chip manufacturers and some electronics manufacturers, and that's under attack by the Justice Department. Don't you see that agents are in control of your federal government?
But the fact that, like I said, the fact that the American people didn't respond in any negative fashion to this type of technological giveaways just reinforces their behavior. They sit there and look at that and go, oh, look, nobody got torqued about this, so we could just go ahead and do it next time, or next time we can do it at an even greater level.
Something I got to say, Steve, is that they did that Access TV story this week in the Statesman. And the Chronicle this week, too. They did, a big story on Access, and I was in there, others were in there, and that's good. But they had negative comments about me. They had some of my comments, but they said, oh no, it's Alex Jones, the Trilateral Commission again. Fine, you don't want to hear about the slaves, go drink your beer, go do whatever. Stick a needle through your tongue and say, look how cool I am, or put on a suit, drive your Cadillac, whatever stupid bauble you're into, go get into your subculture. And I'm in the subculture of reality here. And the Statesman has this little blurb, and it says, shows that have a following. Well, Alex Jones has a following with Exposing Corruption Tuesday nights from, they say 8, it's 8:30, at 8:30. And this conspiracy theorist delves into black helicopters. Well, their own damn paper tells you about black helicopters, but they tell you how wonderful it is, how great the black helicopters are. That's sick. I mean, so what is it, Statesman? It's reality, or does that guy just want to look popular to his fellow writers?
It's to elicit a certain type of response. There's no doubt about it. Caller, go ahead. Caller, are you there?
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, I had 2 questions to ask.
Go ahead.
Number one is being mentally
You know what? I am mentally unstable.
How could you not be?
No, I mean I'm not violently mentally. I mean, what is mentally stable in today's world?
Minion.
Mentally stable.
Being a minion.
You don't care. You laugh. You joke. You drink. You bang, you this, you that, and that's it. And you laugh at that, and you laugh at this, and everything's a joke, and you're not supposed to care. I mean, yes, I am insane compared to the rest of society, but more and more people are waking up. You understand insanity? I would have been insane to walk into an Aztec city, let's say Chichen Itza, on a holiday.
They stop sacrificing people.
When they're sacrificing 10,000 people a day. Or Rome, where they're throwing people into lions, and people are going, get him. That's I would have been nuts. They just said, throw that son of a bitch in.
Yeah,
you don't ask questions. Yeah, and exactly. And the more animosity and the more petty and weak people feel, we'll give more arenas and more carnage and more battle, so they can go feel the power of being part of this. They would think I was nuts, and they would kill him. Kill him now. We're not there yet, but we're going towards it.
And now you can't yell and scream about freedom. You can't yell and scream about Republican forms of governments in your Constitution. You can only yell and scream about the Cowboys or about basketball. And I love basketball.
Something you just said, Steve, is you just said Republican form of government. That doesn't mean Republican Party. It means a republic. I pledge allegiance to the republic. Okay?
It means about people getting 3 votes. It means about, what it really means is about majority rule while protecting the rights of the minority. That's it in a nutshell. That's what it means to be guaranteed a Republican form of government, which your Constitution is all about, which is the tradition of the Founding Fathers, that they developed a form of government. That was their whole goal. When you read their personal papers, their documents, the letters they wrote to newspapers, the essays, the pamphlets, it was all about developing a Republican form of government that allowed for majority rule while protecting the rights of the minority, giving citizens 3 votes, not just 1 as you'd like to think of it now.
Oh, and there's something funny you just said. The Founding Fathers wanted to protect their wealth, and everybody else's, but they weren't just majority rule that protects the minority with built-in stopgaps. Not because they were worried about the mass. They were worried about the King of England. They were worried about the elite, the top 20, the top 10 licensed European powers and their corporations and their licensed shipping firms. They understood that when money is created and wealth is created, forces come to steal it. And they understood that masses are manipulated to go get them, look what they've got.
Right.
And everyone screams howling to get it. Then they get control. By the way, your rights are gone, mob. Pow, shoot, bang. Now you're a bunch of slaves. They go sit firmly ensconced in the temples of prosperity that were built by good men.
And they understood, too, that while centralization is tempting because of its efficiency, they understood that decentralization was the key. That was the key to individual liberty, to individual freedom.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, we need to redo again what we did in the 60s, don't we?
And that is?
We need to go absolutely
We tried to expose them in the 60s, and they shut us down. And that's why a lot of people these days are afraid to do anything. The government's got a stronger hold on the people now than they did in the 60s.
People have just been led to believe that, but I truly believe, I've believed all along what Alex has been speaking about tonight, in that if we just take back the local control, in other words, an organized movement to take back the municipalities, the cities and the towns, if we could take back those governments, the school boards, the city councils, the county commissioners' courts of the world, I'm telling you, there's nothing they can do. It will make the federal government impotent taking back that kind of local control, because it's an organized non-participation. It's saying, hey, you can make whatever laws you want, but we here in Austin, or we here in Marble Falls, or we here in this county commissioner's court, or this city council, we refuse to participate. And there's nothing they can do, because what are the chances of federal troops marching on Austin? I mean, it's just not going to happen. That's why it's so important to take local control. And I guarantee you one thing, Alex is probably putting himself in a great deal of jeopardy, I think, maybe even physical jeopardy, by saying things like this, because people are going to start figuring out that is the key. They can't control many tiny cities and towns all over this country in the same way that they can control that centralization, that the kind of control centralization gives you. Alex is talking about decentralization, and when that happens,
I'm talking about
we're talking about freedom.
Peaceable rebellion on a micro under attack. They will pull federal funds. They will do things. But imagine the city rallying around the leader, the mayor that does that. He'll be in forever. He'll be a king. They'll carry him through the streets.
Well, that's what we tried to do in the 60s, and they shut us down.
Well, it won't happen this time.
Started putting people in jail.
It won't happen this time, and if it does, we'll just keep trying.
Because it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot worse.
Well, it's already a lot worse.
I know. And the tighter they squeeze, the more counties and cities will slip through their fingers.
So
that's right.
I mean, short of an act of rebellion, which they would shut down, how do we go about passive resistance? But we can't. They won't give us enough votes.
Tomorrow night I will discuss
to do that.
Tomorrow night I will discuss my plans and any ideas you have on exposing corruption.
Well, I'd like to find out more about it, because I'm all for shutting down the communist government that's being set up in the United States these days. And that's the way I see it.
Well, it's communism for us, so they can control the wealth. It's elitist thievery and parasite behavior.
Thanks for your call, sir.
Appreciate it. I mean, people always call it communist. You go to a communist country, you have 90% of people are nothing. You have the military and thugs and secret police running things for some, fat moron sitting up in a big chair running everything. I mean, it's just the ultimate elitist behavior.
But as long as for the children, it's perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
At least it is to Americans.
Hello?
Yes.
I'd like to thank y'all for your continued efforts at getting the Austinites to wake up. The gentleman that made the rude comment to you about mental illness, people all the way back into the biblical days that speak up about things that are going to happen in the future and tell the truth have always been said. People say that they're insane. So I think that he's the person that's crazy for not listening to you guys because you're telling the truth.
Well, I don't mean to be negative.
You very much. Thank you for doing what you're doing. My husband and I listen to you guys every week. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate that. Maybe I'm just mad at myself because I haven't, been spending as much time on this as I should. I feel an incredible burden, and I want this damn thing off me. And, I felt good for a couple days once we heard that Delta Force wasn't coming to town, and that was a good victory. But it's just, when you see the overwhelmingness of it and you care, I almost pray for apathy in myself. I wish I could go back to dumb. I mean, it was just so good in those days because I could feel the weight. I could feel the weight, and then I have fear, that people are trying to get me off access left and right. Who knows how long I'll have a radio show. I'm trying to get on every day. Who knows if that'll happen.
Oh, yes. By the way, and you didn't know I was going to do this, I think it's important that people write or call
just don't even. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They are considering me for the daily slot at KJFK, and that's enough. Yeah, really.
Well, then I don't understand the rules down here. If you can't,
actually, that's not a rule.
People trying to get you on the air.
No, it's non-commercial. No, you could actually promote that. Mike's wrong about that, but to tell you the truth, I really don't want to promote it. To tell you the truth,
I know you don't. That's why I was.
I'm going to do this for about another year, and I'm going to try to, get on the radio daily and then get syndicated. And if I don't, I'm just going to write a book and put it out there and try to push it for a while. And I think I'm just going to go back to oil painting and lifting weights and running. Just because this stuff's... I need more people not to come to some meeting where Alex Jones is, but to get out there off their ass. I need the business owners, that are out there to do something.
It's that organized
Yeah, Greg
non-participation
Erickson's
that I
got
talked
a
about.
protest coming up. You'll see it up on screen. I'll be there. And so you can come down to that if you want to come to that. Hello, you're on the air. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I was wondering if you guys know anything in the Simi Valley area of California. There's a place, Rocketdyne Corporation, a facility, and they operate it there. The billboards say Boeing, Rocketdyne, and Department of Energy. But actually what I found out they're doing, and I don't know if it's publicly known, but the facility is 10 or 12 stories under the surface, and they used to do testing there for NASA engines. Apparently, what's taking place is if there's a 4.0 earthquake or lower in that Simi Valley area, they're doing what's called nuclear testing, and apparently some foreign countries know about it, but they're per se not testing weapons. They're testing nuclear engines, and they're calling it a nuclear energy test. And I was just wondering if you guys have ever heard of this facility, because I do know from a U.S. Air Force general now of a occurrence that took place there where he's now found out that this stuff is going on there.
I've heard nothing about it. There's all types of black projects going on that are secret. I really, I know the UN's taken over command of most of our military. I know that Delta Force is under full UN control since '95, according to Stephen Barry. I know that our government, or elements of our government, destroyed Oklahoma City. I know that the private banks control our currency and control our banking industry and control it. I know that we're in bed with the likes of Hitler. I know that Europe's taking over our nation and the transference of power is almost complete.
Well, what I was going to ask you, an event took place there in October of '96, and is there a fax number, if I can get some evidence on this, that I could fax it to you?
Yeah, stay on hold and I'll give you a fax number.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Put you on hold.
Thanks for your call.
Yeah, there's a phone box. I tell you what, if you call back, call this number after the show, sir, 477-228, or call 370-9558. We'll get back with you, or you can call back at the end of the show.
Yeah, they're having troubles with the phones inside the control room.
Hello, caller.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the bank thing.
Yeah.
Like they said, like the banks are all merging nowadays and everything.
Yeah.
And they're saying like the gold is pretty much worthless now.
But Bill Gates, that's a monopoly. Get rid of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the gold's owned by Europe. They gave us paper for it when their agent Roosevelt in '33 made gold illegal.
Yeah, they're saying like the gold is pretty much has no value.
Roosevelt in '33, at the same time he did that with the gold. He did the War Powers Act, the War Emergency Powers Act.
Yeah.
And he took a 1917 World War I rule that was for people outside the country. He made us all enemies of the state, the government against us. That's how they can license us and manipulate us. You see, it's a system. We are the serfs, they are the kings, and that is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a good job, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, every once in a while I get real negative and real bad.
Just don't quit.
I'm not going to quit. I just, I don't like futile, behavior, and I know that what we're doing is not futile. I wish more. That one caller really made me mad. Most people probably didn't think he did anything, and that's the exact kind of call. I could just hear the tone of his voice, what he was saying. What are you going to do? And well, I have done a lot. And it's just the attitude of he just wants to feel like he's doing something, and it's that elitist attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. Words can't express the facts. And I'm just really mad at people that are in positions of power.
Excuse me, this is Southwestern Bell. Is this line in use?
Yeah.
I have a phone call for 477-2288.
Okay, we'll take the emergency breakthrough.
We'll call you back. Thank you.
Go ahead. We're taking the emergency breakthrough.
Caller, go ahead.
What was that?
We just had an emergency breakthrough.
Oh, well, I don't know what that was, but I guess I'll just talk to you guys later.
All right.
Thanks.
I guess the Southwestern Bell operator didn't get what we were saying.
I never heard that.
Never heard of an emergency breakthrough?
Not on the middle of the show.
Hello, you're on the air.
If they had some important information.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello. I've been involved with a trial recently in the last couple of days involving the State Securities Board downtown. It's amazing how even this society living in the great state of Texas has elected officials looking over our industry, and the industry I'm involved with is in the securities industry.
Yeah.
There have been incidences where they have illegally taken in video cameras inside brokerage firms, which is against the law. They have come in, made allegations, or I guess the best word I'm looking for is demanded certain documents, private documents, wanted to go through our private files, saying it's in the best interest of the state.
Let me tell you something. I'll guarantee you that in those cases, those bureaucrats are selling information to your competitors. Sir, do me a favor. Call me back tomorrow night at 8:30 on Channel 10, and we'll discuss this, because we have to go.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Again, go ahead.
We got an email address up there. If you have any emailed comments or questions or information that you want to get to us, that address, slane@moment.net.
Hold off on the music a second. I want to say to the people out there, I want to thank Mike for doing a great job. I want to thank his wife. I want to thank the people that have dropped by to help. I want to thank you, Steve. Tomorrow night, I'll be more focused for you and have a lot of good information for you and your family. Please support Access Television. We'll put up an address to mail us or to talk to us.
Stay tuned right here for more classics on this channel here, Hanson Archives. But to fund this station, I'm offering, if you send us $25, we'll send you a signed copy of Bohemia Grove Cult of Conspiracy. It was forwarded by Tex Mars that just recently passed away. Also, Alex Jones has a chapter in here. And you know that's good. There's us in our younger days. But on the address that you see, send us $25 and we will send you a signed copy, or give us a call at 830-672-3089 and you can put it on a credit card. We'll send it right out. But that's what we need to help fund this channel, folks. So help us get all the classics uploaded to YouTube. We got hundreds and hundreds of old Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a bunch of other patriots that we need to upload. About 25-year-old tapes.
We're outside the studios of Access Television. We're talking to a man who had a very strange experience with the Department of Public Safety here in Central Texas. That's why it's dark and you're seeing the back of his head right now. That's to try to give him some anonymity. Sir, you contacted us Monday night. And we're going to call you just Mr. Doe. I don't want to give the exact date of when it happened so we can keep your anonymity. But let's say between the 13th and the 16th of June, you were driving. Would you tell us just the general area where you were driving and all that happened?
Off of 290 and 35.
And just go ahead and start and tell us what happened.
Okay, I had pulled out of a particular gas station and was answering my mobile phone. When I pulled out onto the highway, well, that happened right in front of a DPS patrol car with 2 officers in it. They waited a good approximately 200-300 yards, pulled me over inside a parking lot, had me get out of the car, didn't read me my rights, didn't tell me anything was going on, but said they detected an odor of marijuana. Asked me if they could search the car, told them no. Proceeded to search the car anyway, still didn't read me my rights, didn't tell me I was under arrest.
That is against the law in and of itself.
Right. Then they told me, well, you can either A, go with us downtown, we'll write you up for the marijuana. They found 2 roaches in the car. Didn't say anything about the open container. Didn't say anything about under influence. Or I could submit to an hour test where they could test me and see what I was under and what they thought about it.
So you were kind of shocked at the moment. Were they congenial towards you? They weren't they?
They were very polite. Overly polite, actually.
Overly polite. They were out. Now, we've gotten some other reports of this, but other people are afraid to talk about it. It was very strange. They must have done to a lot of people. We've gotten several other calls just in the last week about this happening. That's why we're doing this now, and then we're going to go talk to DPS about it. So what you're saying is they were very polite to you, and so you said, okay, and you left your car at the...
Yeah, they actually even parked my car for me, let me keep my mobile phone and call my girlfriend to tell her I would be detained for an hour, but they were going to let me go after I voluntarily submitted to their little physical. And that's what it was a physical.
At a later date, we might want to do an interview like this with your girlfriend.
Okay.
Now...
And she actually spoke to, I had the officer tell her, I didn't tell her myself, I had him do it in his words so that I had a witness.
And the main reason you're not doing this out in the open is you think it might jeopardize your employment.
Yes.
And that's very understandable,
right.
Sir. We appreciate you doing this. So what you're saying is, so, Mr. Doe, what exactly, from the time you got to the DPS facility, where did they take you and what were the tests? What was the nature?
Okay, they took me downtown to the police department, Austin PD. Put me in a room, one of their little interview rooms with the padding on the wall and everything. They checked my temperature several times. They checked my blood pressure several times. I had to do the dexterity test with touching your nose, walking up and down the line. They closed the lights off and bled different types of light in to check my eye reactions, my physical reactions and so forth. Checked my muscle tone, checked all my muscles and everything. So gave me urinalysis.
So the Department of Public Safety was engaging in intelligence gathering and medical testing. How many doctors and nurses were there?
No doctors, no nurses, just police officials. That was it.
Just
and the actual DPS troopers did the tests, and they took turns. One did it, and then the other one did the exact same duplicate test on me to see if they matched. And there were 2 or 3 observers during the whole time.
Who were the observers?
Just plainclothes police officers. And I asked them why, and they said, this is a study for us to be able to tell what people are under the influence without having to actually...
Do you know that President Clinton wants urine and blood testing to get driver's license?
Yes.
You yourself it was implemented by 94, so we can see that they're implementing this and preparing. Thank you for stepping forward. Is create whole new where casual users of drugs like make you less violent, probably alcohol. They say that you be charged. They will make you go to a government psychiatrist and have our local police more involved. This is obviously because I've read this. And you say after about how long were you there?
An hour. About an hour and 15 minutes.
And you say that they were going to give you a ticket, but they didn't.
Yeah, they told me at the end they would give me a Class C ticket as a traffic violation, and I'd be on my way, and they didn't even give me a ticket.
So they told you this on the road where they pulled you over?
Right.
And they did not give you a piece of paper to confirm your meeting?
No.
So they were dishonest with you?
Right.
Did you request, please don't give me a ticket, or did they simply escort you to the front desk? You thought you were fixing to be giving a citation, and you were not.
They didn't even do that. They just said, look, thanks for cooperation, no ticket, and walked me out.
And they just walked you out in a nonchalant manner. What was the, did you notice the rank of these officers?
They said they were cadets. They were new. These 2 particular guys didn't have firearms on them at any particular time because you don't have to check them in when they go in. But Austin PD was involved as well because I saw other people being brought in by Austin PD and the Sheriff's Department, and they were done the same way.
Do you know that TxDOT, a private corporation, they pull people over for nothing and try to intimidate you and make you fill out surveys on the highway? We see more and more of this happening, and this is about, they're setting up the framework to create whole new classes of victimless crime because they've built all these massive prisons and systems and all these social workers. They need people. is there anything else that you would like to say to the public, or why did you do it, but then now you contacted us? Maybe at the time with police officers, it's at night, it was unusual, and now you're thinking, are you thinking twice about it?
No, at first I did it because I didn't want anything on my record, no ticket or anything. But then after I submitted and they guaranteed, and I had them call my girlfriend, I wouldn't be arrested, the first thing I thought was, I'm going to go and submit to this, and I'm going to call Alex, I'm going to call Jeff, and I'm going to give them my story. Because I wanted to go through the whole thing just to be able to tell, because I knew there were some people in there that were really scared, didn't know what was going on.
So it looked like some people were very scared. I mean, exactly. That's the point that needs to be made, Mr. X or Mr. Doe, is that most people see a police officer and they are intimidated by the authority of the uniform, an authority that law enforcement should have as our public servants and our protectors. Now they're law enforcement. They're beginning to use military terminology, and you saw some people that looked scared.
Yeah.
Did you see, what were the ages? Men, women?
One guy was about 17 years old. Just looked like a high school kid, and he was scared to death.
Did you see any females?
No females, but they did have a homeless dude they pulled in there because he was intoxicated, but they didn't want to have anything to do with him. They finally said, no, he's homeless, send him away. If it was to be a test to be what everyone's reaction were under certain influences, why wouldn't they test everyone?
So you feel like that a lot of people would, this is how I feel, will just go along with the police because, hell, this is the police, they're giving me an opportunity, I'm going to take it. But when you really think about it, it's an abuse of power, and to also be doing medical tests on you when they're not actually doctors.
They're not trained in any way.
They're not trained in any way. Do you feel this is a big brother?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, well, we're going to go to the DPS. We got a lot going on. A lot of other stories we've got to get to. There's so much raining down on us, but this, to a lot of people, this will just sound strange and weird, but we're going to try to get this confirmed. I believe your story. Got a chance to eat dinner with you this evening. This is what's going on in a lot of other parts of the country. We've had a long history of government experimentation with the MK Ultra, 1979 declassified documents, Tuskegee with the black men. I could go on for an hour and a half. And this is a milder form, but it's very, very odd. If you were committing a crime, and I'm for following the law, I don't believe marijuana should be illegal. I believe it should be decriminalized. I believe it should be controlled. But I don't like creating these giant black markets which create huge subcultures and criminal organizations and a lot of secret money, non-taxable money. Just like in the 20s, Prohibition energized the mob. And
right.
You make something illegal, it makes it risque, plus it's very profitable, the black market arises. What this is going to do is, as I said earlier, it's going to give them something, new criminals, new classes of criminals. But the main central point is, it is the law now. We should work to reform it and change it. But we see police officers, not judges, not juries, giving you a choice to submit to this and we'll leave you alone, or be tested, or we'll take you to jail. And is that what they told you?
Well, that's exactly what they told me.
What were their exact words, if you can remember?
If I could either volunteer for the test and they let me go, no questions asked, wouldn't be anything on my record, be a Class C ticket, or they take me down and book me for possession of an open container.
So they left it up. They said either you're going to be a criminal and we're going to take you to jail, and they said for a more serious charge.
Right.
Or they said you could submit to this test, and they took you down, and law enforcement officials did a series of tests on you, information gathering, and then they didn't even give you a piece of paper when you left.
Exactly.
Now, I think the public out there can realize how serious this is. Sir, I want to thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome.
And we're going to talk to the DPS. We're going to go down there and try to find out what's going on, either by the time that you see this tape, Monday, or by next week. We're going to get down there to the DPS and get this for you. This is very, very serious. Back to the program. Oh, go ahead.
One more note I got is the two officers, because I asked questions. One was from Midland, and one was from Odessa. They weren't even from this area. They were down here testing to do their test down here. Because I asked them where they went to high school and where they were from, and they openly gave it to me.
So you're saying that they were just down here randomly pulling over the public, letting people out of a crime.
Right.
And saying, hey, you can get out of crime if you come let us do medical tests on you.
That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did.
And remember, people, this is total injustice. I'm serious. You have law enforcement acting as judge, jury, and executioner and telling you you're going to jail to have serious charges filed on you, or you can come with us for an hour and you can be tested. How long were you in custody?
Well, I wasn't ever actually arrested or in custody. I was just there with them for about an hour and 15 minutes. And they never once said I was going to be detained or arrested, just come do their little test.
But here's the point. They did say you'll be arrested if you don't.
Right. Exactly.
According to the Constitution, according to Texas Constitution, sir, you were detained. You were detained. You had the option. You had the option to be detained for an hour and a half. For how long?
About an hour and 15 minutes.
About an hour and 15 minutes. You had the option to be detained for an hour and 15 minutes. Or you had the option to go to jail, go through the process, and have bigger charges on you.
Right.
Don't you see that? They gave you the choice of, we'll let you get out of this crime if you submit to us. And that is not a law enforcement officer's job. They are to enforce the law. And you have police officers breaking the law. And they're doing it by the sanction of the federal government. They're preparing to make you all criminals, create all types of new crimes, to give their new government psychiatrist something to do. This is Orwellian. Hi.
Hi, how are you? Can I help you?
Hey, is Jenny Acker here? Yeah. We just want to ask some questions for our Access TV show about the blood drive.
Jenny Acker?
That's what it says here, Jenny or Acker. Acker.
And where's this going to be at? You know what? This is probably the lady in charge of setting up this blood drive at the Bailey Square. Get Dolly. Let me get Dolly real quick.
Okay.
Hang on, okay?
Thanks. Get the person coming up. Hey, how you doing?
Fine.
My name's Alex Jones. I have an Access TV show. I'm also an FM radio host here in town. And we, of course, support blood drives and everything. Our only question is that we know that during the 80s there was some problems with blood screening around the country. And we know that those problems have been fixed and that all the blood centers are screening for everything, correct?
They are. Can I ask what you're going to be using this for? Because we were not expecting you.
Well, I don't think, I mean, that concern doesn't even involve y'all or anything. It's just that Roosevelt said that in 33 that it would only be used, actually it was in 35 when they implemented the Social Security Act, that it would be an ID number for the program and never as identification number. And so we just go back and show how government will tell you one thing and then incrementally, well, by 36 they were using it as identification number. But I think I agree with you. It's already something that's done.
That's just everywhere, but
everywhere.
It's just strictly our identification of our own.
Oh, I know that. I understand. Thanks a lot for your help. Well, we just talked to the good people here at the Central Texas Regional Blood and Tissue Center, and again, you have a lot of nice people implementing things, and I hope that we can trust what she said, but the nature of governments and systems, it comes down to one thing. All they need is your name and number if you feel like giving it to them. If they're testing the blood, there's not a problem anyways. Now that's scary. They need to test the blood 100%, then it doesn't matter who gives it because they've already screened it. This is intelligence gathering, but they're doing good work here. And I'm glad that we cleaned up America's blood practices since the mid-1980s when AIDS was spread across the country and hepatitis and syphilis. This is the Freedom Report.
Right.
Here in Central Texas.
Well, we're the statewide public information office for the Department of Public Safety.
Great. You probably know me from the thumb scanning protest. I appreciate you being honest with us and talking about this. We started getting reports about 2 weeks ago about people being pulled over and with alcohol and marijuana, and the police tell them, the DPS tells them, that either you have two choices. You can either go with us and let us do some medical testing on you for a couple hours, and there'll be no charges, or we'll give you the full extent of the charges. What's the name of that program where they do the drug testing?
I think you've got some of your facts confused. What the program is, the Administrative License Revocation Program, and it's been around since January of 1995. And what it does is allow people who have been drinking and driving to have their license revoked much more quickly and effectively through an administrative procedure as opposed to going through the courts, which can get bogged down. It's not a criminal process. It's an administrative process, so the burden of proof is less than it is for a criminal process. The way it works is someone is, a trooper has probable cause to stop someone, and if they believe that the person has been driving while intoxicated, they give them the notice, the ALR notice, in addition to any criminal charges that might be filed. And the way it works is if you agree to a blood alcohol test, your license, and assuming that the person is driving while intoxicated, if you agree to the blood alcohol test, the suspension period is less than it is for refusing to take the test under the administrative license
What's
program.
the name of that program again, Sherry?
Administrative License Revocation Program.
Okay, tonight at about 7:30, we're going to play this story, and I think we may be getting these mixed up. These were DPS cadets. That's what they told him, the individual. These were DPS cadets, and this guy does work for the city and for the DPS. That's why he's afraid to come out himself, and that's why he did it, was because he didn't want to lose his job. He was pulled over. They allowed him to call his girlfriend on their cell phone and talk to the officers. They parked his car for him at a restaurant. He'd had one beer in the restaurant, had just bought a beer at a convenience store. And
we also have an open container law in the state of Texas.
No,
if you weren't aware of that.
Yes, he was breaking the law.
Right, exactly.
My point is, in fact, that's what I'm getting to, is he was breaking the law, and he says that he had marijuana. He had two. So
that's two laws he's breaking.
Well, that's the point. That's the
open
point I'm getting to.
container
and alcohol,
possession of marijuana.
And possession of marijuana. Now, then they take him down to the main police station on 7th and 35.
Right.
And take him in. There's other people there that looked frightened. And they told him, you have the choice of letting us do these medical tests on you, and we will let you go. Or you don't do the medical test, and we will throw the book at you. And I have him on tape saying that. And he said the police were, the DPS was very courteous and very nice to him, and he took the opportunity. But then on reflection, he said, wait a minute, I was breaking the law. And the most important point is the police were acting as, or the DPS was acting as judge, jury, and executioner because he had committed a crime. How can they mediate themselves?
Well, first of all, if anyone has a complaint against the behavior of any of our officers, what they should do is make that known to DPS. They can write a letter or call our traffic law enforcement division upstairs or call the district office, and we take all complaints seriously. Second of all, I don't know who told you this or where they got their information, but none of our quote-unquote cadets are out enforcing the laws of the state. They're all over at the training academy, and right now we don't even have any in the training academy.
Well, no, they told him that he would be given a ticket, and they had the ticket there on the clipboard the entire evening, or for the hour and 15 minutes or 30 minutes that he was in their custody. And he said they were very polite, very courteous, and they kept saying, we're going to give you this ticket at the end. It's just going to be a Class C misdemeanor rather than a much stronger charge. And they took him in, and they did urine test, other tests of him, and said that they were testing, doing a study to find out about people's pulse and things to be able to tell if someone was under the influence of drugs. And they said that this was medical testing, and they said that they were cadets. There were also 3
other senior DPS officers there observing. And so this sounds like something different than the program that you were talking about.
Well, it's not my place to get into second guessing something that's happened, especially when I wasn't there and I don't know anything about it. If this person has a complaint about something that was done by DPS troopers, he needs to let us know that, and we'll take appropriate action. Like I said, our cadets, we don't even have any cadets in the training academy right now, so I don't know what he's talking about cadets.
Well, they told him.
Second of all, I would strongly suspect that he's getting the administrative license revocation program confused with some criminal laws, which is a source of frequent confusion because they do similar things.
Well, they told him that he was going to get a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, people want to usually go along with what law enforcement officers, are saying to them. They just said, "Okay, sir, thank you. You can go." Open the door for him. He walked right out into the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
So they just flat out released him. He said there were other people there being given tested. He said that he was questioned in one of the interrogation areas, and that's where they did the medical testing on him. And I also talked to his girlfriend who talked to the police on the telephone.
Right.
So you're saying that there are some different criminal programs and you're not...
Well, what I'm saying is a lot of people get the administrative license revocation program, which is relatively new, mixed up with the criminal charges, which have been in place a lot longer. Before 1995, you could then still be charged with driving while or driving while intoxicated. The administrative license revocation does a similar thing. It's not a criminal conviction, but it results in the loss of your driver license, and it all stems out of the same set of circumstances. So a lot of people get that confused. And once again, I will repeat for the final time that I'm not going to speculate about something that happened that I don't know anything about. I'm not going to second guess anything that one of our troopers may have done. But if someone has a legitimate concern, they're welcome to call or write, and we take complaints very seriously. And once again, if you had called ahead of time and let me know why you were coming here, I might could have done some research on this.
But it sounds like you know the laws of the state of Texas and the protocol of the DPS.
Uh-huh.
And I know that for you this is still speculation, and I understand that.
Right.
The point I keep making is it wasn't criminal charges. They said you will get...
Well, I'm not going to discuss this situation any further, is what I'm saying.
Well, is there any policy like that?
Of what?
Where they say, come with us and let us do some testing on you, and we'll just give you a Class C misdemeanor, or we'll throw the book at you, and then they just let you go.
As I explained in the beginning, under the administrative license revocation program, the penalties are worse. The suspension period is longer for your driver license if you refuse to take a breath alcohol test. And other than that, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no outside verification that anything has happened here. I do not have the person who is complaining coming to me and making the complaint, so I'm not going to discuss the situation any further.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, my only question is...
And if that person wants to come forward and make a formal complaint, or even informally talk to one of the supervisors out at the district office, that's the proper channel that they should take.
Well, the DPS has struck me as unusually professional for this day and age.
Right.
But it sounds to me like could be several things. Either this person doing the story is insane and is flat out lying to me, and so is his girlfriend, or they really are doing some type of testing program just to learn exactly what people signs are like when they're on marijuana or other drugs, or it's a trick used to get people to go and do the test and things, and then if they find the level to be high, they get in trouble.
Well, you can, assume whatever you want to.
I understand.
I'm not going to get involved in this conversation any further because I don't have the facts, and it would not be my place to second guess something that an officer did in the field.
I did a story with the Chief of Police, Allie Philippus.
Right.
Did you hear about that?
No.
No. I
I did a story with the chief of police, Allie Phillips from San Antonio, and he said I'm just asking you if you've heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
He threw the Delta Force out. That's the most elite military team. It's modeled off the British SAS. I have that on video and play it on TV and also on my radio show, play the audio, for attempted bribery and other behavior in San Antonio. Have y'all been contacted by the Delta Force?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, listen, I appreciate it. Is it Miss Green or Mrs. Green?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Miss Green. Do you... Also, this is the last question, and it's kind of just a little bit different. I do appreciate your time. Our last question is, when we came and had the DPS protest, just to continue ad nauseum say, everybody was very professional. I was surprised by that. But there were some surveillance vans, clearly surveillance vans, also some people with cameras. And I'm just curious, I know that DPS has a special intelligence division, correct?
Well, we have a special crime service.
Well, I heard Dusty Heskey, former head of stalking on KGFK Radio Sunday. You've heard of him? No. He was on there, and he was calling it the DPS intelligence.
It used to be called criminal intelligence because back in the 50s, I think, when it was formed, it was in the middle of the Cold War, and there was a lot of intelligence types things going on. But that has not been a function of DPS in many years, and the name of that service has been changed to Special Crimes. And generally, the kinds of things that they investigate these days are blue-collar crime, gambling crimes, fugitive apprehension.
Do they have white sedan?
Narcotics. They drive all different kinds of vehicles.
What do you think the reason was that we were being openly filmed, just for a record, in case something did break out and was bad, in case of suits, y'all could have covered it, just for categorizing the situation?
If it was taped and I wasn't there, I would assume that would be the reason why. Basically.
Because I want to assure DPS, we are not in the Ku Klux Klan, or we're not in the Republic of Texas. We're not in. We have people of all races and groups that are in Texans for Freedom and just other organizations that me and my associates. All we're trying to do is bring out the information to the people and try to keep local control of Texas, of all the states, because of the growth of the federal government. I want to thank you. And is it all right if I call you next week? Is there any way that you can check into this and find out exactly if there is anything to that?
Well, if you can provide me a lot more specific information than what you've given me so far, I'll be glad to check into it.
But how about if I bring the gentleman in?
If you give me a date and a time that this allegedly happened, then I could look into it and a place.
Can this gentleman that came forward, can he come here under anonymity?
Well, I'm not the person he would need to talk to. If he has a complaint about one of our troopers, he needs to talk to somebody in their chain of command.
I don't think it's the troopers.
We deal with the media here.
I understand. I don't think it was the troopers that he had a complaint with. I think it was the system and the law. Again, police acting as judge, jury, and executioner, giving him an option. Submit to this or be...
once again, I'm not the person who sets those policies. So he really need to direct his complaint to someone in the law enforcement chain of command.
Do you have a copy of that new program?
I have some information about it I can get together for you. Of course, it's been around since '95, so it's 3.5 years old.
Have to dig it up.
Yeah, but I can find it for you.
Well, here you can see some of the DPS directors, Department of Public Safety here in Texas, started in 1935. See, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt got in, he realized that they needed to implement state police, or police that were allied with the federal government. Many of the people even here don't actually know the policies of their own little bureau here. You heard her talk about the intelligence service, as it was called here in Texas. So we have this gentleman. We just have a picture of him, L.G. Ferris. And then we have H.H. Carmichael, director from 1936 to 1938. Again, started back with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then we have Homer Garson Jr., director 1938 to 1968. He must have done a particularly good job. Stayed in quite a while. Then we have this gentleman over here, Wilson E. Spear, director 1968 to 19
1979. These guys were staying in quite a long time. Then we have James B. Adams, director 1980 to 1987. Then we have Leo E. Gossett, director 1987 to 1988. And then we have this gentleman here, Joe E. Milner, director 1988 to 1991. And then we move on down here. We have James R. Wilson, director 1991 to 1996. And I'm sure the current director's photo is hanging somewhere nearby. But this is the gentleman we can thank, and the Texas State Legislature and Bill Clinton for the Federal Register and the funds to put in the thumb scanners. Many people around here will tell you it was Texas that did it. No, it's Army War College, 1968, planned it, got legislatures around the country to secretly agree to it before the technology was even feasible or feasible for mass usage. And then once they implement in 1994, tell us why didn't you complain? It's been done since 68. So that's the way things are done. But the federal came in 1993, another executive order by Comrade Clinton and the Anistas. Do you like that? We've been talking about some of the negatives, but we know that we need law enforcement, as they call it, but what we need is peacekeepers. We've been talking a lot today about the negative, but let's talk about the positive of our peacekeepers, of our peacemakers. And March 1997, Corporal Roel Garcia was fatally injured in a traffic accident. This picture is dedicated to the memory of Corporal Garcia, the third member of the Department of Public Safety to be killed in the line of duty. You know, police are out there every day trying to keep traffic flowing, trying to keep the speeders and the drunks off the road. We really appreciate that. And we need them to defend us from something even more dangerous, and that's federal and supernatural control. We hear Congressman Ron Paul tell us the UN's taking over our national parks, foreign banks control our debt. We're losing more and more of our sovereignty, and taxes are going up, not down.
Sir, what's your position, Mr. Hurt, here at the Department of Transportation?
I'm the Public Affairs Officer.
Alex Jones, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're doing a story about Big Brother. And we know that in San Antonio and Dallas and Houston, they're putting up quite a few cameras. Can you tell us exactly what the name of these systems are and where they're integrated, where the video monitors are, and exactly what it's for?
Well, they go by different names. San Antonio calls theirs TransGuide, and Houston calls theirs TransStar, and each city has a different name for their own particular setup. What it is, it's called an Intelligent Transportation System, or ITS, and it uses a
smart highways.
Smart highways, yeah. It uses an array of changeable message signboards along with closed-circuit television cameras, sensors that are built into the road, all of which are monitored at a remote location to give traffic management people a clear picture of what's going on in the city as a whole at any given moment.
So it's actually better than helicopters because you can just punch a button and see any area you wish.
Right. They actually monitor this at a traffic management center that looks very much like Mission Control at NASA, where they've got banks of people sitting behind computer terminals, but they also have a large display in the front of the room that's like a schematic map of the city. And if they see a certain roadway start flashing yellow, they know the traffic is slowed down, and they can punch up a camera and find out why the traffic is slowing down at that spot. Is it a wreck? Is it raining? Is it smoke across the road? Is it just congestion? And then they can respond accordingly. They can use a changeable message signboard to say accident ahead, move to the left, or take a detour, or whatever. And they give the motorists as much information as possible before they actually get to a location that gives them an opportunity to make a choice before they actually get into a congested accident type situation.
Mr. Hurt, do you know how many cameras Houston or San Antonio has?
No, not just right offhand. On the selected roadways, they're about every eighth of a mile. So there are quite a few of them.
Hundreds.
Yeah, I think San Antonio right now has about probably 200 some odd miles that are under camera.
So every eighth of a mile, we're talking about thousands of cameras.
Well, I'm not sure in the entire system if they're every eighth of a mile, but in the locations where they're particularly congested, where where you have
the mixed masters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when we start out here, we'll have some online, at least a couple by August of this year, down around the upper lower level split, and we'll just monitor them here at our district office. What we ultimately hope to do is build a traffic management center in a couple of years where we'll be there, the police department will be there, fire department, EMS, the Capital Metro.
Just a whole integrated system.
Right, we'll all be together.
I've seen them putting up poles. You were saying, Mr. Hurt, that right across the street here is a pole that they're planning to put a camera on.
Right, what we've got is the poles, 183, you can see a lot of them. There's some on Interstate 35. They'll mount the cameras on those. The little question mark shaped wire that comes out of it is a lightning arrestor. It's supposed to be like a lightning rod.
I've seen those. I've seen the poles that the cameras on Arnia, and they have like a little question mark.
Yeah, we don't have any cameras mounted yet, but those poles are where they'll be.
I've seen a few cameras down by y'all's main office off 35.
Right.
I mean off 35th Street.
Right.
What are those cameras?
We've done some testing of different types of cameras to see which ones we like the best.
So that's a testing area.
Right. But what it's not going to be is a situation where somebody's going to be sitting there watching you drive around town. It's basically to monitor traffic as a whole in a certain location.
Fire,
right.
Or if
it's not going to monitor speed as far as.
What about fugitives? I mean, that might help in some of those cases.
Well, I suppose you could use it for that, but that's not its intended purpose. It's a traffic management tool.
What about in California, where now? You were saying, Mr. Hurt, that this is mainly just for emergencies and clearing up traffic and directing people around traffic, which sounds great. But I would say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think we need cameras, but the problem is I don't trust our federal government, and I think any systems we put in, they can easily step in and take control of for whatever they wish. And take California, for instance, and some other states where they take snapshots with snapshot cameras, snapshot video cameras, and then mail you a ticket. Now, certainly you could say, well, you were breaking the law, but I really don't just like the whole climate that I see growing around the country. What would you say to that?
Well, this is not a law enforcement tool. It's not something, I think that law enforcement would be disappointed if they actually, and they will be part of the, but I mean, if they look at the camera and see the picture, it's not like they're going to see your face. It's really more of a broad view of an entire stretch of a highway.
Some of these cameras in San Antonio and Houston do have zoom capability, though, don't they?
Right, and we will have some zoom capability. We and pan, tilt, all of that, to be able to get an entire look at a problem area. But as far as is being used to give you a ticket, that's not the purpose, and I don't see that being the purpose. It's a traffic management tool. And it's all part of an entire complex where we've already got sensors put in the road in parts of Interstate 35. And what it does, it tells how fast the traffic is moving.
That's the little black rubber bands that go across the street?
No, those are counters. What you see, it's like a loop. It's like it's been cut into the concrete down around 51st Street or in front of the airport. You'll see like a square that's been cut into the concrete.
So the black bands are counters?
Those are traffic counters, right.
Well, that's all very understandable and very reasonable and needed to, I'm sure, in the modern age, control roads, find out where you need more roads, all that. The point I keep making is that I know the federal government gives Texas and most of the states a lot of its highway funds.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And sends along recommendations and advisors and ideas that they want implemented. And I just see the trend that's going on nationally of federal control. Just to give you an example, just a month ago I went to San Antonio with Chief Al A. Philippus, who threw out the Delta Force for attempting to bribe him. And if you think I'm kidding you, you can call down there and ask them. The Delta Force was going to train here, and our little TV show and my radio show were able to stop them from training here. And I know that's not your purview and your area. I just want to communicate to y'all that that is our fear. We'll put in these systems that are there to help the public, that are there to ensure safety, and that law enforcement will become more and more under federal control. You say that law enforcement, though, will be stationed at the main center that y'all plan to construct?
Well, there'll be a representative of the police department, maybe several, and the object there is to be able to identify and dispatch, identify the type of problem they may have and dispatch even before somebody dials 911. They'll be able to say, we've had an accident there.
What about EMS?
EMS will be there. The fire department will be there. Capital Metro will be there. It's going to be a joint center where all of us are there that are involved in traffic management.
Here's my example. They're building a $2,031,000 helicopter hangar, 3 acres under the roof, according to the Commissioner's Court, the documents that I've gotten from them. And they called it Starflight. This is just a microcosm of the problem I'm talking about. They called it Starflight but the 2 new helicopters are going to be used by the Sheriff's Department for surveillance. We have Margot Frazier, the sheriff, on tape, and you'll see that tonight again, saying that yes, they're going to be for surveillance, but then it says nowhere in the documents people voted for the bond package. And I know that this is local, whereas your state. Just the point I'm making is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions over and over. Mm-hmm. They'll tell us it's for this, and then we'll say, great, we're for it. You think it's reasonable because that's what you believe. Then they put in somebody else, and they go along with what it was really set up for. That's my only point.
Well, again, this is going to be a state, city, capital metro type of operation. I don't see the federal government having any type of authority to take over the center and use it for something different. The Texas Department of Transportation is not a law enforcement agency. We have no authority to enforce the law, and that's not our interest. Our interest is in making sure that the transportation system in Austin and in the state of Texas is safe and efficient and effective. And with Interstate 35 being a major NAFTA corridor, we're going to see more and more traffic on this road, and it's, for better or worse, it's Austin's main street. And anything we can do to facilitate the flow of traffic, that's what we're trying to do. And we're at an age now where we're able to use quite a bit of high technology and give the motorist a good deal of information that he or she may not have had in the past before they get into a situation where they're just stuck in traffic.
Well, it sounds very reasonable to me. Just 3 years ago, I wasn't the way I am now, but when you read in the Statesman and they tell you what a good idea it is in the May 10th Metro and State, it's not a matter of when a chemical or biological attack's happening or not. The Statesman's exact quote was in the May 10th Metro and State was, it's not a question of will it happen, but when it happens. Then you find out that secret military teams have been dispersed all over the country. And again, I had the police chief of San Antonio saying this. I have articles from around the country. They crashed a helicopter in Houston. The media totally covered it up. And you have this whole move going on. And the Statesman also wrote that in Chicago and other cities, the Marines and Delta are practicing taking over police stations, water facilities, the communication systems. Now, people could say, well, that's in case terrorists take it over. Right. But I just want y'all to know, and this is in the media, but they're telling us how wonderful it is, that secret military teams are practicing taking over communication, transportation, water, energy, and police departments mainly. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want to, get off into some conspiracies. This is a conspiracy. There's a lot of stuff that people aren't paying attention to, and I just see Germany as the leader of cameras, and I see Britain as the leader of cameras. And Germany, just 2 months ago, passed a law, unanimously almost, to where they can actually bug homes and actually put cameras in homes, but politicians and psychiatrists and lobbyists are exempt. And that's in Germany, in good old Deutschland. And we know they're the home of Big Brother.
Well, we're not into that. We're not into getting into your house or listening or seeing anything that goes on into your house.
At least not 1998.
Not at this point.
2005.
Our dealing with the federal government has always been basically through the Federal Highway Administration, and our interest has always been design, capacity, safety.
Was it 260-something billion just got passed, or?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the highway bill?
Yeah. A big one, huh?
Yeah, that's going to mean some additional money for Texas.
Well, I tell you, I like big roads. I'm a car enthusiast, so I love it.
Yeah, well, that was good news for us, because we ought to get probably somewhere in the neighborhood of an additional $713 million a year in this state, which we've been giving away more money than we've been getting back. So this is a.
I would think Texas, being the most second populous state, I think we should get more than 700 million.
713 probably.
713.
Overall, it'll be about $2 billion over the course of the bill. But that's what it is every year. It'll be about 7.
Oh, every year.
Yeah. So it's a good deal for us.
Is the bill for 4 years?
6 years.
6 years. Oh, yeah. Now I see. 7 seconds. And you're head public information officer?
Right.
We're visiting with Mr. Hurt. He is the head public information officer in Central Texas, or for all of Texas?
For the Austin District.
Austin District.
Central Texas, uh-huh.
Now, you said earlier that the cameras are mainly going to be at the main intersections and mixed masters and areas where congestion generally tends to be, or where wrecks happen more often. How many cameras do you think Austin will get over the next 6 years?
Well, I think over the period of 6 years, it will probably number into close to 100 or so. we'll put 183, the new additions to 183 were built with this in mind. So that's where you'll see it first. We've got the pull boxes where we can pull the cables already in place and we don't have to retrofit the road. So you see that. You'll see some on 183 as time goes on. You'll see additional roadways like Ben White, possibly 71. And as the freeway facilities are expanded east of the interstate towards the airport, I'm sure you'll see it on there as well.
You talked about the over 700 million and the 2 billion numbers that Texas will be getting over the next 6 years as part of this new transportation bill. Is any of that money going for cameras?
Well, no, not at this point. The money that was just passed by the transportation bill doesn't have any place to go right now. As far as, I mean, it's not designated for anything.
So actually,
that will be up to the Transportation Commission as they fund long-term projects to decide where that money is going to be spent.
Does the federal government encourage cameras?
Well, you mean like for traffic management?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that all of us do as far as traffic management goes, because it's the quickest way to determine what's going on in a roadway. You don't have to wait for a police car, an ambulance to get there, or a fire truck. So in the length of time it takes to punch up a button, you know what's happening on the roadway.
That way you can give your people the correct information.
Right.
But is the 700 million and the 2 billion over the next 6 years, is that going to help y'all free up other funds to build y'all's new command center, or what would you call it?
Well, the traffic management center is going to be paid for jointly through the city, the county, the state, all of us that are participating in it. The money from the transportation bill, we hope, will go more towards constructing and maintaining the infrastructure, and that includes everything from multimodal projects like bicycle trails, HOV lanes, as well as highway construction itself. It's going to have its fingers in a lot of pies before it's all over.
We were talking about the X's on the road. What do those mean?
A lot of times you'll see X's painted on a highway, and that's for photogrammetry. That's where we actually take aerial photographs of roadways, whether it's for a right-of-way map to determine the future route of a roadway. And these X's are used in measuring distances and other. They have all sorts of functions from aerial photographs, but it's called photogrammetry. And it's very common, and you'll see that quite a bit. It's used as a reference point for aerial photographs.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever you see some surveyors out in their little deal.
Right. And it may be, and sometimes it may be that. Sometimes it may be what's called a survey station, and the stations are 100 feet apart, and they mark the stations with X's. But the big X's are usually for aerial photography.
So basically, if you see a tower or a structure with a question mark wire, which I've seen many of, that is the site of a future camera.
That's correct. That's where we're going to be putting a monitoring camera, and 183 is where you see most of them right now.
And every eighth of a mile in the key areas?
Well, that's what they've typically been like in Houston and San Antonio. I think ultimately we'll probably get to somewhere like that in this district, but that not right off the bat.
But again, Texas has no plans in the future to like California, put cameras in to ticket people.
No, not at this point. Now, what happens down the road, that's a law enforcement issue, but as far as the Department of Transportation goes, that is not our plan or our function.
How do y'all work with the DPS?
Well, we work very closely with the DPS because it is the state law enforcement agency as far as patrolling the highways. Once you get outside the city limits, if you have an accident or traffic control or traffic tickets or whatever, that's the responsibility of the Department of Public Safety. It's an extremely professional organization. We work very closely with them, and they have been of immeasurable help to us on a number of occasions.
Thanks a lot for your help, sir.
Okay,
appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for all the time.
You bet.
See, he makes it sound so good.
I don't know. I know that
you should have heard what he just said. He said, frankly, the tickets are coming on the polls.
No, his opinion. What I was saying was there have been some projects where they've actually tested. Nobody's ever gotten a ticket from it. They've just tested it to see if it worked.
Here in Texas?
Yes, in Texas. Here in Austin, at railroad crossings.
Well, I mean, they're actually giving tickets out for what, 5-6 years in California?
Yeah, but we haven't done any of that, and it's purely. It's something that a law enforcement agency would have to do, and it's something that right now I don't know if it's going to come to fruition, whether there's any interest in it. It's just one of those things.
You said it's probably coming, is your opinion.
No, I think that as far as that goes, it's here because we've already tested like at railroad crossings. But if we can use a device like that to keep people from running around crossing arms at a railroad crossing and save the life of some kid that's in a car seat, doesn't have any choice about
that. I understand.
I'm all for that.
Save the kids, the children. It's for the children, like Clinton and Buddy the dog. No, seriously. Now see, Yeah. Now, they're already in Kansas and other states. You go through, and the toll is almost nothing if you have the transponder in your car.
Right.
K-tag and all the rest of this garbage. And the problem is the lady at the toll booth was like, I love K-tag. I'm like, yeah, you'll love it when everybody has it, and your job's gone, lady. And at the same point, we see more and more of these smart highways and poll systems. And it seems to me like in the future, well, it's not just the future, the April 27th issue of Time, The Future of Money, you can probably find one in there. Read on page 44. It talks about the best part. Quote, the best part is the chip under your daughter's skin in the near future. You won't have to buy the drinks for her at the bar. Now that's on page 44. That's the type of mental illness that's in our mainstream media. And I challenge you to go read that. And then they talk about tollways and transponders and one card for everything and chips under the skin and how wonderful it is and the best part for your daughter is, blah, blah, blah. Of course, it's always for the children. And you sit there and you read that, and then you realize, wait a minute, if the IRS doesn't like me now, and they're a bunch of criminals, that's been proven, out of control, if they don't like me now, they can come take my house or whatever, but I can still mow yards or be in the black market economy selling shoes on the street or whatever. Well, what if they, in 10 years, have implemented this smart card and smart highways? You won't be able to get in your car, drive down the road. Your car will just turn off if you're not a good citizen or a good slave.
Well, that would take a great deal of technology that hadn't been invented yet to turn your car off. All the technology does now is it uses what in effect is a high-tech metal detector to read the speed of the car as it goes over.
Well,
now that's the K-tag. I'm talking about the sensor in the road that measures the speed.
It's all these integrated systems, and you know technology's doubling every 4.5 years now at this current rate. And the point I'm making is they do have systems, and it's been on Discovery Channel, microwaves that aren't harmful to people, other things. If they aim at your car for an instant, the engine will instantly stop. And they're already making new cars that have more and more transponders and things inside of them. I mean, again, this is not a conspiracy. If you go and read that sickening article in Time Magazine, The Future of Money, it is a 6-page propaganda article, so we'll accept a technocracy. That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Well, we preached at you. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
We're a bunch of conspiracy theory maniacs.
No problem at all.
We're across the street from the Texas Department of Transportation, and we're fixing to go over there and talk to Mr. Hurt, their head person in public relations. We suspect that is a camera pod. I've been telling everybody that those are what they plan to put cameras on, because in other cities I've seen poles just like that with a question mark wire, a lightning rod with cameras. We're fixing to go over and find out right now. We're here on IH-35, right across the street from the Texas Department of Transportation. We're fixing to go talk to one of their head people. We suspect that pole that you see right there, right next door to it, that they're planning to put a camera on top of it. The reason we suspect this is that in other cities like San Antonio and Houston and Dallas, cameras are on poles just like that with a question mark lightning rod. That's what you see there is a lightning rod. So let's go over and find out right now. Right here on Exposing Corruption. Freedom Report.
Anybody want to come up here? All right, that's it. All right, who wants to lead it? Let Gene go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Here's all right. God bless the Republic. Death to the New World